here's your host, Hannah Storm.
And this is Daytona International Speedway, NASCAR's most famous racetrack. Today, the 2002 NASCAR Winston Cup season gets underway with bud pole qualifying for the Daytona 500. And more than 2,000 miles away in Salt Lake City, Utah, the 2002 Olympic Winter Games have already begun on a gorgeous day here in Salt Lake. Hi, everybody. I'm Hannah Storm, and welcome to our Olympic studio. In just a few minutes, we'll be sending you out to Daytona Beach for bud pole qualifying, where drivers compete for starting positions in next Sunday's Daytona 500. And then later this afternoon, after the racing on the track ends, we'll have more racing here on snow and ice as we bring you cross-country skiing, speed skating, and a look ahead to the downhill races. Meanwhile, last night at Rice-Eccles Olympic Stadium, the 19th Winter Games officially began here in Salt Lake City. Those are the Olympic Rings of Fire for games that urge you to light the fire within. The evening's most solemn moment centering around the World Trade Center flag as it entered the stadium, and the president strode in and later opened the games officially. Dorothy Hamill and Dick Button had their moment with the flame. Father and son Olympians James and Jim Shea, and finally Captain Mike Eruzione and the 1980 Miracle on Ice men's hockey team all coming together once again to light the Olympic flame that will look over the first Winter Games on American soil in 22 years. And later this afternoon, 3 gold medals contested here on NBC. We'll go over to Soldier Hollow, the start of cross-country skiing, and see the first medal of the Games decided in the women's 15-kilometer. Plus, we'll get our first look at Sweden's Per Eilofsson, who has a chance to win 5 medals at these Games. And we'll go over to the Olympic Oval, that fast ice for the first event in speed skating, the men's 5,000 meters. We'll see a bit later on. Right now, enjoy the bud pole qualifying from Daytona Beach.
This has been the Sun America NBC Sports Desk. Sun America, the retirement specialist.
The most prestigious stock car race in the world is a loud and frantic 500-mile journey. But the trip to Victory Lane begins with a lonely yet challenging 5-mile dash around the Daytona International Speedway. The quest to qualify is a small key that can begin to unlock the biggest dream of the greatest drivers. Speed Weeks offers the ultimate challenge. Earn the honor of champion in the Daytona 500.
Gordon has locked up the championship. Using lessons learned from his father. Michael Waltrip is going to win.
NBC Sports proudly welcomes you to Daytona Beach, Florida, the home of the Daytona 500. Today, it's bud pole qualifying for the first race of the 2002 Winston Cup season. A season that begins with the clamor and glamour of its most glorified race. 10 days of endless activity. And now on a warm, sunny, and 75-degree Saturday, 51 drivers sit face-to-face with the first critical step on the trip to triumph at Daytona. Qualifying. The first car out, 31-year-old Jerry Nadeau of Danbury, Connecticut. The first of 51. Hello everyone, I'm Bill Weber, and on behalf of our NBC and TNT race team, welcome to Daytona. From the ice and the snow at Salt Lake City to the sun and the surf here in Daytona Beach, the role and the goal are the same. To be the best, you have to beat the best. Only then can you take home the gold from the Great American Race. Today, the front row for next Sunday's Daytona 500 will be locked into place. The next 28 starting spots will be determined in qualifying races here on Thursday. But a good qualifying time today is an invaluable insurance policy, because after the first 30 spots are secured, only 6 spots will be awarded based on qualifying time. 6 traumatic days leading up to one dramatic race. For some of the big dollar teams and most of those on the TJ Maxx budget, the nights are spent working and the days spent worrying. Can we make the Daytona 500? The first car is on the clock. Jerry Nadeau making his attempt to get into the Daytona 500. Now it's my pleasure to hand it off to 3 guys that always start up front: Alan Bestwick, Benny Parsons, and Wally Dallenbach.
All right, Bill, thank you. Pleasure to be here with you at Daytona. Jerry Nadeau, a Hendrick Motorsports driver, and so far in the 2 practice sessions the teams have had to get ready for qualifying, Benny, the Hendrick cars have been strong.
Very, very strong. Looks like that Randy Dorton and all the folks in the engine room have worked very hard over the winter trying to find some horsepower, and also the guys in the fabrication shop have some great bodies on these cars that go through the air well.
Quick refresher for you, here at Daytona Beach, they use the restricted engines to control horsepower, so it takes a couple of laps before the car reaches top speed. The first lap, pretty much a throwaway for everyone. The second lap's going to be the one that counts.
Yeah, you'll see a couple different ways to go around. A lot of guys will run the first lap real high. Some guys will run the first lap in the middle. But usually the second lap is always going to be the fastest. And whether they pick up, sometimes you'll see a bigger jump because the cars that run up high will usually about 3 or 4 tenths of a second slower than some of the guys that run the middle on the first lap.
You saw that first lap at 49.69 seconds. We would expect Nadeau to run almost 3/4 of a second faster this second lap. Number one, he's lower on the racetrack, so he's traveling less distance. Also, the engine is now up. When he took the white flag, it was up to speed. The car was going as fast as it's going to go.
Nadeau was 5th fastest in practice, so this should be a good barometer for what it's going to take to qualify up front in our Bud Pole session today. And the checkered flag for Jerry Nadeau, who was 2nd fastest last year, but had his time disallowed when they didn't make it through the post-race tech inspection line. How about the numbers?
And there we see the second lap. He goes down in the 48 seconds, 48.993, 183.70, picked up 7/10 of a second.
And hello from Daytona Beach, Florida. Alan Bestwick, Benny Parsons, Wally Dallenbach. Glad to be here with you for Speed Weeks 2002, leading up to our coverage of the Daytona 500. Benny, you won the pole for the 500 in 1982. What's it mean to whoever's the fastest here today?
Well, to the driver, he spends about 7 days talking to every newspaper writer here in town, every TV station in town. But it's really, truly, qualifying at Daytona is a mechanical exercise. So the crews are the guys that get to slap themselves on the back, because that means they've done a tremendous job the last couple of months.
Bill Weber gave you the quick run-through on the complicated system used to set the field for the Daytona 500. Bottom line on it, Wally, where today is concerned.
Speed is very important, because if you don't make it in on those qualifying races, then the last 6 cars in the field get in based on speed. John Andretti was the last car to get on speed last year, and he was 16th fastest. So if you don't have a provisional, it's real important to get in on time today.
And here's a guy on track now who does not have a provisional. Jeff Green, driving the AOL Chevy for Richard Childress Racing this year. Did not run last season full-time on the Winston Cup circuit, so they will not be eligible for one of those final spots on points. Got to have a good time today, or else all the pressure is on him in Thursday's 125 milers. Jeff looking to make his 2nd start in the Daytona 500. He ran the 98 race a couple of years back. He was a pole winner last season in one of only 8 starts for Richard Childress. Took the pole on the half-mile short track in Bristol, Tennessee. See what kind of numbers we get here for Jeff on his first lap. His first lap's going to be faster than Nadeau's was. 49.35.
Wow, a great lap for Jeff Green. 182 miles per hour on the first lap. He's got another one to go. And he talks about him winning the pole position at Bristol. That's going to be important, because he gets to run the Budweiser shootout tomorrow here at the Daytona International Speedway. So he gets 70 laps of practice getting ready for the 125s on Thursday. Only 22 cars in that race tomorrow. They have a heads-up start on getting their cars set up for the qualifying races on Thursday.
So let's see if Green is able to wind up and top Jerry Nadeau on lap number 2. Survey says barely. He will do it. He ran a 9.16. Nadeau ran a 9.93. That's close.
8/100ths of a second.
I figured I'd leave the math for Benny to do.
Yeah,
I wasn't going there yet.
anyway.
This is Jeffrey Bodine out on the track in the 09 car. Many of you, I'm sure, myself included, watched the opening ceremony at the Winter Olympics last night. Jeffrey Bodine is very interested in what happens in Salt Lake City as well. Dave Burns has more on that for us.
Well, Alan, bobsledding is Jeffrey Bodine's other passion other than stock car racing. And in 1994, he helped the U.S. bobsled team by helping design this particular sled. This is the Bodine sled that the Team USA started using starting in 1994. Now, it hasn't medaled yet in Olympic competition, but it's done very well in World Cup competition. And in fact, Jeffrey is even funding the team this year through the charitable donations made at his fishing tournament down here in Florida. So all of the sleds will carry the name Spirit of Florida. So Jeffrey, very involved in racing, very involved in bobsledding. In fact, Alan, I think I'd like to try to take this thing down the 31-degree banking, but I've had a little trouble with ice this week, so we're going to load it up here. We're going to take it around the speedway and show the folks a few things today during the qualifying show they might not have seen here at Daytona before, including a bobsled.
Dave, I'd like to see you try and drive that bobsled. Actually, I'd like to see him lock the door on that trailer and leave him in there for the afternoon. Bodine, the 86 winner of the Daytona 500. Remember, it was here a couple of years ago that his career was seriously derailed in a savage crash in a NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series race.
And in testing they held here in January, this car, the 09 that Jeffrey Bodine is driving, was the fastest of the 4 Taurus cars. But when he came back to practice yesterday, the Robert Yates cars of Rudd and Dale Jarrett took over the fastest Ford spot.
Not surprising that he would be slowest on his first lap. Remember, the second one will be the quicker of the two for everybody, unless something goes really seriously wrong.
Yeah, something is going to be seriously wrong if they run faster on that first lap.
Look how low he is going down the fairway. These guys will, a lot of these guys you'll see make the track as short as possible. When he came off a 2, he stayed right down at the bottom of the racetrack. He did not let the car drift out. Figures that's just more space he's wasting. So let's see what he does coming off of turn 4 here.
Does the same thing.
Keeps the car very low.
Shortest way around. And Bodine is through. Checkered flag.
He had almost looked like he had a problem getting off of 4, but we'll see what the...
And that'll be the slowest of the day. 49.252 for Jeffrey Bodine. That puts him 3rd out of 3 that have run so far. And again, a driver with no points to fall back on. That time trial speed is his only insurance policy. Speaking of driving a bobsled, Burns said he'd like to try it out. Wally did.
They really wanted me on the team, but I couldn't leave you guys up here in the booth by yourselves. So
this was out at the Olympic site about, what, 4 weeks ago?
Yeah.
About a month ago?
Yeah, went up there and they gave me a ride in one of the 4-man bobsled. I was in the last seat. And boy, was it
hanging
fun.
On for dear life, you were.
It was cool.
How fast is the sled going down that mountain?
I think our top speed was around 80, 81 mile an hour.
Wow. Now, speaking of a fast ride, this is the young man who's made a lot of headlines through testing and now in the speed meets, Jimmy Johnson. Rookie driver driving for Hendrick Motorsports. Jeff Gordon is a part owner of this car. Johnson's been quickest in both of yesterday's practice sessions.
He also was the quickest in January testing here at the Daytona International Speedway. So this is the time, he should throw up a time that's going to, we'll find out what kind of speed he can run, and can anyone beat that time?
Now, while he makes his first lap, remember the second one will be the one for the money. Let's go hear from one of the just qualified drivers, Marty Snyder.
And a lot of smiles from the AOL team. Jeff Green, great lap. Did that surprise you a little bit, maybe?
He did interview me quicker because Jimmy Johnson's fixing to beat us all, I think. But it was a good lap for us. AOL car really run well. The guys just really worked hard this morning. Our Clash car, our Bud Sheedout car, was a little bit of hindrance for us and took away a little bit from this car. But that should put us hopefully in the top, 15 anyway. Give us a good time to rely back on come Thursday. And we know that we can race good. We just got to get in this thing. But, we don't have any points to rely on. So we need every chance we can take, and this is a good chance we got.
Speaking of having no points, I talked to Jimmy Johnson, the man out on the track a few moments ago. He said they don't have any points to fall back on, so they're being conservative on this lap. And Randy Dorton, the head engine builder for Hendrick Motorsports, said he would be surprised if one of his car was on the front row.
Look at this. Lap number 1 is already second fastest.
This is going to be some kind of lap because yesterday he ran in the second practice, he ran 48.68. Wally and I saw him run that lap. He did get some help, so I wonder if he could run that fast, but it looks like he's going to be able to.
Looking for his first start in the Daytona 500. And he's been
Whoa, that car really jumped loose there in 4.
Over the bump.
It didn't look like a 2, but I know how that feels. That thing was very loose. It hit the bump and really jacked that car sideways.
Was he fast enough, or did that cost him time? Got it.
Got it. All right, here's the guy that got to shoot for 48.431, 185.83 miles per hour.
Just underway with Bud Pole qualifying at Daytona.
Check this out. Bob here needs a car.
His qualifying attempt for next Sunday's Daytona 500, chasing Jimmy Johnson, who is on the provisional pole. This lap 2 furlong of the 2 qualifying laps for the Daytona 500. We're on the wagon here in Victory Lane, and as Carl continues around the track, we're joined by Ricky Rudd. And Ricky, first of all, your reaction to the speed posted by Jimmy Johnson.
Well, Bill, it's pretty impressive. We knew that they were holding back a little bit yesterday. I think also the Dodge of Ward Burton, I think they held back a little bit yesterday. So that's kind of maybe what we figure they can run. We'll be lucky to get back to what we ran yesterday, which was a 48.70, and Jimmy ran a 48.40. So it's somebody might have a chance of beating it, but it's not going to be a Ford, I can tell you that.
Checkered flag out for Carl Long. He has completed his qualifying attempt here on Bud Pole Day. And we'll watch the numbers come up. Currently 5th. Of the 5 cars that have gone, 51.015. So Carl Long will be forced to race his way into the Daytona 500 on Thursday in the qualifying race. Where do you want to be then when this day is over?
Well, I think everybody here, they wouldn't be here unless they wanted to be first or second. And you have to put our group in the same deal. That, we've got the new situation with the Haviland group. The Haviland's come on board this year, and we got a real good race car. It's just that, none of the Fords have really set the world on fire, and this has a lot to do with the current rule structures and stuff that we've got at Speedway Racing. But, it seems like we race pretty good. It just don't seem like they're going to go fast by themselves.
Is it a refreshed, rebuilt Ricky Rudd after some off-season back surgery?
Well, I had a little minor overhaul. I had a back problem that developed last year, and sort of just an aggravation more than it was anything. It was like a bad toothache, except it just never went away. And I dealt with it about 6 months, and over the winter I was able to go get that worked on. I had a modern procedure on your back, and they went in through there, I guess, with a fiber optic deal, and patched me back up and put me together, and here I am at Daytona and ready to go and running pretty good.
Rick Mast taking the green flag to begin his qualifying attempt here. Rick Mast in the 90 car for Judy Dunleavy this year. So, Ricky, no testing for you during the off-season. Andy Hillenberg basically did a bulk of it for you.
Well, Andy Hillenberg did all of it for us. He did an excellent job. Andy's one of the best guys in the business as far as making these cars, reading these race cars. He just does an excellent job. He's a good driver. He just hadn't had a chance to prove it too much, so we take all the advantages we can of his expertise on setting these speedway cars up. And between him and all the guys on the Haviland bunch, they've got this Taurus cranked up pretty good. I think we have a good shot at winning fast at Class, but you just can't overcome. Sometimes the rules get structured a certain way, and you just can't overcome that. But my hat's off to Andy Hillenberg, all the great work that they've done. Matter of fact, this car we've got here was built in 8 days. Came down here and tested things. I think we're 30th fastest on the watches. I came in here long enough to see a bunch of long faces, and then I moved and proceeded to leave the garage there and let them have some elbow room, and it wasn't too pretty. And none of the Fords looked really, really good. So they went back and rebuilt, actually built this car from scratch in 8 days.
Wow. Well, let's hope their hard work pays off. Best of luck in qualifying and in the Daytona 500 next Sunday.
Thanks.
That's Ricky Rudd. Let's check it on the provisional pole sitter with Marty.
Now let me get this right, Jimmy Johnson. Randy Dorton tells me he would be surprised if one of his cars is on the front row. You tell me you're being conservative, and then you go and pull off that lap. That was impressive.
That was awesome. We're all trying really hard. I mean, everybody in the engine department at Hendrick Motorsports, chassis, body, engineers, the teams, we're all working together and we're doing awesome. And that was a great lap. A little exciting. It turned a little sideways on me coming off of 4, but I think we might have lost a little speed there. But we really didn't know what we'd pick up. But it's a great improvement. We don't know what everybody else is going to show. That 22 car is going to be awfully tough, but it's just neat to see how this whole team's come together and all the support from Hendrick and all the Lowe's employee owners as well. So we're smiling.
All right, only 2 rookies have ever sat on the pole for the Daytona 500 in the modern era. Roy Allen in 1994 and Mike Skinner in 1997. Alan?
And Jimmy Johnson setting up the dramatic finish that's expected to this Bud Pole qualifying session. He mentioned the 22 car of Ward Burton. He's going to be the 3rd to last driver to go, and a lot of folks think he could be the man to beat.
Say, Ed, mind if I borrow the Ram?
Sure. Going out with your buddies? Hauling a stack of 4x8 sheetrock? Towing a gravel crusher?
Yeah, no, actually, I just need to pick up this, like, antique sewing table.
4 full-size doors and a full-size bed. The all-new Dodge Ram. Grab Dodge's 7/100 powertrain pledge. Ford, GM, and Toyota don't have it.
What will it take for you to talk to your doctor about Zocor?
Let's go. Good job.
Ask your doctor if Zocor can work for you.
Zocor, be there.
His Mountain Dew in serious jeopardy, this generally harmless male will defend his domain with basic animal instinct.
Back at Daytona with Bud Pole qualifying, Emporia, Virginia's Hermie Sadler is on the track trying to make the field for what would be his very first Daytona 500. Log on to NBCSports.com for the latest NASCAR news and results, and you can take part in a special interactive in which you can make your opinion known on the hottest topics for the upcoming Winston Cup season. Find it at NBCSports.com. Well, if Hermie Sadler's going to make his first Daytona 500, he's going to need to race his way in on Thursday.
Yes, because his speed is not going to be fast enough to fall back on. Only 2 cars. We only determined 2 cars today, the front row for the Daytona 500. That is set. On Thursday, we have qualifying races to determine how the rest of the cars will start. We see Hermie's second lap was by far the best, 50.396, 178.59 miles per hour.
It is such a complicated system that's used to set the field for the 500. Benny talked about the front row set today, 3 through 30 set in those qualifying races on Thursday. Then that 31 to 36 and 37 to 42 is where today's qualifying speed and last year's point standing come back into play.
And 43rd spot is for any past NASCAR Winston Cup champion. If all the past champions are in the field, then they go back once again to the owner point standings from 2001.
So if we get a car together between now and next Sunday, you're past Winston Cup champion.
But I haven't raced in so many years, so I would not fill their criteria.
It has to be in the same century.
Yes.
Here's Ken Schrader on the track. 3 times the pole winner for the Daytona 500, and he did it in back-to-back-to-back years, 88, 89, and 90.
He was 16th best in the practice session held yesterday afternoon. They had 2, one yesterday morning, one yesterday afternoon.
Talked to Newt this morning. He said that they thought they'd be in the top 15 after today's shook. Everything shook down in qualifying. They thought they were going to be pretty good.
Kenny said 12th to 20th. That was his pick. Kenny just came back from what he calls spring break. Went out to the Southwest with his dirt car and his NASCAR Southwest Tour and his NASCAR Winston West cars and went racing for about a week and a half. That was spring break. Oh, and worked in a couple of Winston Cup tests while he was out there, too. Fast lap so far, 48.431 seconds for Jimmy Johnson. Schrader takes the white flag.
You see the first lap puts him back in 6th spot. First lap is 49.6, so he's got to pick up over 1 second to beat Jimmy Johnson, but we've told you he's not going to beat Johnson. He expects to be somewhere around 15th to 20th when it's all over. And to do that, he probably will need to get around, what do you think, 49 flat?
49 flat, yeah.
49 seconds flat. That would be around 184 mile per hour average.
Kenny's from St. Louis. Asked him this morning about the Super Bowl, if he was big on the Rams in the Super Bowl. He said, I don't do other sports. If it doesn't have wheels on it, I'm not interested.
The Rams from St. Louis?
Right, Schrader.
Yeah, for a few years now.
He's down pretty close to 49 flat. 49.118 seconds. His average speed, 183.23 miles per hour.
Will that be 12th to 20th?
We'll find out.
It's going to be awful close. Defending Daytona 500 winner Michael Waltrip among those still to come. We'll be right back.
Okay, good news. That broadband thing we all want? Got it figured out. Honey, you call the phone company. Tracy, you're digging the trench, shovels in the garage. I'm going up on the roof to assess satellite possibilities. Timmy, check out these schematics. Appreciate it. Let's go!
We know how you feel, and that's why Circuit City offers one-stop high-speed internet access. You can find what's available where, compare
Fantasy racing, then log on to America Online and go to NASCAR.com. Where else? The all-new NASCAR.com. America Online keyword NASCAR.
Bud Pole qualifying to lock in the front row starters for the 44th Daytona 500. You're watching it live on NBC from the Daytona International Speedway, and that's Richard Petty's number 43 with John Andretti aboard. He's just finished his 2-lap run.
And he finishes right behind Schrader. Pretty good lap for Andretti. 49.139 seconds, 183.15 miles per hour.
That's not bad. And now the defending Daytona 500 champion comes out onto the track, Michael Waltrip. 1 year ago, Waltrip leading his teammate Dale Earnhardt Jr. to the checkered flag, scoring his first NASCAR Winston Cup win. Sadly, this moment of triumph very short-lived for Michael, because behind him out on the track, his teammate, his friend, his team owner, Dale Earnhardt, had been fatally killed in a last turn, last lap crash. The great tragedy of that. Michael worked so long and so hard to get that first Winston Cup win, and he wasn't able to enjoy it.
And I asked him about that. Was that a big thrill? He said, yeah, it's thrill when the Daytona 500, but I don't even want to think about it. You see, because when I do think about it, I start thinking about Earnhardt, and I get sad again, so I don't even think about it.
He gets another chance, 2002, to do it again, and this time be able to enjoy it, and Waltrip is on the clock now on the first of his 2-time laps. He was 10th fastest in practice.
All the DEI cars, Michael Waltrip, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and Kenny Wallace, all were very good in practice. I don't know if they're going to be as good as that Jimmy Johnson car, though. Boy. I'm really surprised how much John Andretti picked up. His fastest lap in practice had been 49.80, and he goes down to 49.13. So those guys have worked awfully hard overnight in the last 24 hours to find some speed there.
Michael was the 13th fastest qualifier last year, en route to his victory in the 500. Looking for his 16th start in the Great American Race, and lap number 1 is done. Survey says
goes down to 7th, about 49.5 seconds, 49.51 to be exact. So if he can pick up about a half second, he will move up past
Jerry Nadeau anyway in the third. This is what we call pace chase. Every one of the race cars carries an onboard telemetry unit that's coordinated with a GPS and all other kind of trick gadgetry. Bottom line is, we can tell right now how Michael Waltrip's doing against the fastest lap set by Jimmy Johnson. You see the red plus gauge and the green minus gauge.
So it looks pretty good. Uh-oh.
He's about 0.4 of a second slower.
Plus means time over what the lap was, what the fast lap was. Minus means time under. So
second quick.
When he was in the red, he was slower.
And moves into second spot at 48.863 seconds. Average speed was 184.19 miles per hour.
Mikey spent a little bit of time out in Salt Lake City recently. Doing what? Giving driving lessons. People driving courtesy vehicles and security vehicles and that kind of thing. He was teaching them high-performance driving in the snow and ice. Now, I have a problem getting in the passenger seat when Michael's driving on a dry road. These people are crazy.
I think Michael was having a good time.
He was having a blast. Kind of looked like Wally out there in that bobsled, huh? Competition has begun at the Olympic Winter Games, and coming up next after NASCAR on NBC, the first gold medal of the games will be awarded, plus speed skating and more. Then tonight at 8 Eastern, 7:30 Pacific in prime time, American Hannah Hardaway is a strong contender in the women's moguls final, plus ski jumping and skiing's decathlon, the Nordic combined, where Todd Lodwick hopes for the best ever finish by an American. It's the Olympic Winter Games next, and again tonight at 8 Eastern, 7:30 Pacific on NBC. Dave Burns, where are you?
Well, Alan, I'm by Daytona, USA, outside the Speedway, and this is the bronze statue that was unveiled Thursday in honor of Dale Earnhardt. He stands on top of his famous number 3, and he holds the Harley J. Earl Trophy that he earned for winning the 1998 Daytona 500. Now, around this statue are listed his 7 championships as well as the 1998 victory, and in the back, a replica of his driving gloves and that of a lucky penny that was given to him that day by a terminally ill child. He had it taped to his dashboard, and it brought him good luck in winning his only Daytona 500. Now, someone made the comment that Earnhardt's statue should be looking up toward the heavens and not down, but that would only let the heavens see his eyes, and any fan that stands down here at the base can look up into the eyes of the man they called the Intimidator and see what a really tender-hearted hero he was. I think, Alan, that this is a very fitting tribute to Dale Earnhardt.
Yeah, Dave, I was there Thursday at the unveiling, and as soon as the cover came off the statue, I thought, what a magnificent job of capturing Dale.
Yeah, they did a great job with that.
Dave Blaney on the racetrack qualifying. First lap, not too good.
Too good. 9th out of 11. One of a number of drivers in new places for this 2002 season. Blaney taking over this ride from Robert Presley, who's now into 92, and on it goes.
But in practice, Blaney was about 20th best, so see if he can pick it up a little bit. Got to pick up about 3/4 of a second to get back where he practiced. Just 3/4 of a second in racing, that isn't an eternity.
A little bit.
Goes up to 8th. Picked up about 6/10, 49.420, 182.11 mile per hour.
More from Daytona in a moment. You're watching NASCAR on NBC.
Get your hands on the hardest driving CD of the year, NASCAR Full Throttle. The official NASCAR soundtrack featuring Metallica, Creed, POD, and many more. Don't be caught at the finish line without your copy of Full Throttle. Available now.
Popped one of those in the CD player in the rent-a-car on the way over from the airport.
How was it? No bad.
Pretty good. No banjos.
No banjos, so I don't know anything about that.
Kurt Busch is the 12th of 51 drivers to make a Bud Pole qualifying attempt today here in Daytona. First lap, 10th fastest. He's coming around to finish it up on lap number 2. Let's hear from Michael Waltrip now. Second quickest. He's with Marty.
And the defending 500 winner told me 10 minutes ago, I don't know what to expect. You must be really surprised, A, and B, very happy.
Yeah, you're going to hear this. I can't believe we ran that fast. 100 times drivers are going to walk up here and say, I don't know where the speed went. But our car, Napa Auto Parts Chevrolet, just ran great. Richard, Slugger, Richie, Steve, and all the guys, they've just astonished me. I tell you, Marty, I'm a little surprised, though, or a little astonished over last night. I loved watching the hockey team light the cauldron last night. The flame is lit. I love listening to President Bush. Golly, I just left home this morning, and I thought I could run around this track if I needed to, because what an inspirational evening last night was, and what a great lap that was. I think we're going to be a part of the story again this year. I've been telling you.
Watch him. Watch him. And, of course, you know, you had a little ceremony of your own last year over there at Daytona, USA. Have another one of those, Mikey. Maybe win another Daytona 500.
Logistically, it'll help a lot. We'll put a car there and take the other one home. That's
very good. That's that old car back. Matt?
Well, Marty, while the pace may be very fast and frantic on the racetrack, back here in the garage area at the inspection station, many call the room of gloom and doom, a number of cars are already lined up behind us and already starting to go through. You can see Jeff Gordon's mount already up on jack stands going through the inspection process. This morning at about 9:45, his teammate Jerry Nadeau's team pushed the 25 car at the starting line of the inspection area. It took 62 minutes, and he was one of the first cars, so you can imagine it takes a minimum of 60 minutes to almost 2 hours once they hit the line to go through and get the sticker, the way they can push that car out onto the grid to take their place on the grid to get ready to take their attempt at qualifying for the Daytona 500. And Marty, I'll tell you what, a lot of nervous people back here hoping they don't get stopped by something where they have to pull the car out of line and get back in line. Alan?
Yeah, if you miss your assigned spot in the qualifying order, unless you've got an awful good excuse, you don't get a chance to run.
There is a second qualifying session here in Daytona. Unlike the other racetracks where only one round of qualifying, there will be another one Monday. So the guys have a chance to come back, but if you decide to qualify on Monday, you have to start behind in the qualifying races on Thursday. You'll have to start behind all the cars that qualified on Saturday. If life wasn't complicated enough.
I told you it's tough to get this field set for this race.
Easy.
Johnny Benson's on the track. Go ahead.
Michael was saying, you know, he didn't know where the time came from, but I'll tell you, when you qualify here, you know when you leave the pit lane before you get to the backstretch if you're going to have a good lap. The way these cars accelerate, you know if you're going to go fast or not. If the car gets up to speed fast, you know that motor's running good, and you know you're going to have a good lap. And boy, it's a good feeling when you get to about the exit of turn 2 and you already are in fourth gear.
And when you come by down the straightaway the first time and take the green flag, and you're just staring intently at that tachometer, wanting to see some number that you haven't seen before. If you've been seeing
a bigger number,
if you've been seeing 6,900, you say, please 7,000, please 7,100. Then you know you're going to pick up some speed.
And that's all you can do. A driver around here can't do any. I mean, all you're doing is pushing that pedal as hard as you can. It's not difficult to run a qualifying lap here at Daytona. There's not a whole lot a driver can do to make up any time.
That's a pretty good effort for Benson there. He was 12th fastest in practice. He's 9th right now. Looking to make his 6th start in the 500 at 182 mile. He'd actually probably like more than that.
Yes, yeah. But he did practice at 49.10, so he slowed down about a third of a second. And that's exactly what Michael Waltrip is talking about. They'll all be scratching their head on this team. Where did that speed go? What happened to that third of a second? Matt?
Well, Benny, down here in the inspection area, Jeff Gordon waiting for his car to go through, talking to his partner and owner, Rick Hendrick. First off, a good lap by your car that you own. How about the car that you're going to drive?
Well, you know, we've been real close to one another all through testing. He's been a little bit better than us, so I don't know if we've got anything for him, but I'm really encouraged. Yeah, right.
What are you saying?
It's the driver. That's the
driver?
Yeah, the new driver is what he's saying. That's what he's saying. It's that new driver that did it. You know, I'm just so proud of all these guys at Hendrick Motorsports, the way they prepared for Daytona this year. It's got me extremely excited. I know we're going to have a good run. I don't know where we're going to end up. That was a lap that I wasn't expecting, so I don't know what's going to happen from here on out.
How about an all-Hendrick front row? I mean, we were talking about it in the garage area. You thought you guys had a good shot, but you're also concerned about the dodges of maybe the 22 Ward Burton?
Yeah, all morning, all day yesterday, I said the Dodge is going to be on the pole, but I wasn't expecting Jimmy to run a lap like that, so this is going to be really interesting by the end of the day.
And Rick, I know your engine department program is very pleased with the results they saw yesterday. It's got to be pretty pleasing for you as well.
Those guys are pumped up. They've worked awful hard, and Randy and the guys back home 7 days a week, but they're putting it to use, and you know, it sure looks good to see them all up there together, and you know, we'll see how this thing shakes out. There's probably a lot more surprises left to come.
Well, good luck later on today. And Alan, I'll tell you what, these guys are very pumped up about their chances here, not only today and tomorrow, but next week in the 44th running of the Daytona 500.
And they should be. Jeff has had a lot of success in this race.
You talk about surprising. We talked about surprising speed. Michael Waltrip, where'd that lap come from? I'm surprised that this driver, Ryan Newman, the 12th car on the racetrack, has not run better than he has. I mean, first practice session, he was 46th, and the second, he was 44th. They're struggling. I saw this morning down in the garage area, some of the 2-car, the Miller Lite guys were over working on his car, I guess trying to find some more speed.
Two-team being Rusty Wallace's as we look at our NBC Pace Chase. Bill?
Alan, they have struggled, as Benny was talking about, throughout the sessions on Friday, and basically one of their biggest problems, they've had some tire rub problems, and they had people over there working on that to try and correct the problem. The guys over there this morning were working on the left rear wheel well, trying to get some support in there, trying to keep the sheet metal off that left rear tire. They're hoping that will contribute to faster speeds here this afternoon.
And you see he's 3/4 of a second slower than Jimmy Johnson. 0.8 of a second slower than Jimmy Johnson.
And counting.
And counting. But if he gets to a second, that's going to be much better than he's practiced so far.
Wow, 8th out of 14.
A 49.418 seconds. Hey, tell you what, that's not too bad. That's about a half second faster than he's run so far.
For a guy who was near the bottom of the sheet in practice, he's midway through the field in qualifying right now.
NBC Monday after the Olympics, the WWF takes on Fear Factor.
You're all going to climb that ladder into that helicopter. You're going to move those 3 flags from the first pole to the last pole.
And you won't believe what's in this drink.
Keep going. No, don't stop. Can you even talk?
WWF Fear Factor, NBC Monday after the Olympics.
Tonight, the Olympic dream continues.
A.J. Foyt won the Daytona 500 back in 1972. Now he's a Winston Cup team owner. This is his car with Stacy Compton on board out of Hurt, Virginia, trying to make the field for the 500 for a 3rd time. Checkered flag for Stacy, and let's see where his numbers shake out. 11th out of 15 who've qualified so far for the Conseco Pontiac.
There she is, that 49.521 seconds, 181.74 miles per hour. Matt, what's going on in the garage area?
Benny, we've caught up with the crew chief of the 28, Haviland forward, Michael Fatback McSwain. And Fatback pushing the car up to the line now. You haven't missed your call on the grid, but you're very close. What took so long?
Tech went a little longer than, of course, we anticipated. NASCAR's doing a lot of extra checks this year and taking a lot more stuff. It just takes a little bit longer. Took us about 2 hours, but we'll be okay. I mean, we'll do what we can, get the oil hot, and we'll go up here and see what we can do.
Frankie Good, your engine tuner, plugged in the generator about 2.5 minutes ago. Will there be enough time to get all the fluids up to optimum temperature?
It probably won't be exactly where we want it to be, but we had it pretty hot before we got in the tech line, so it should be pretty good shape.
A lot of teams picked the 28 as a possible pole contender here today. This is something they didn't want to have some last-minute tension here on the grid, Alan.
And Mike McSwain said NASCAR is checking things very closely. The inspection area has been a topic of conversation for about the last 3 days.
On Thursday, as the cars go through inspection, it looked like a body shop down in the garage area. There you see the 29 car, little Bondo body filler going on. There we see Tony Uri Jr. doing a little Bondo work, body filler work on the Budweiser Chevrolet.
And everybody I talked to is, I mean, you know, they're a little bit harder on them this year than they have been, but nobody's really complaining as long as they say that they do it every week that way. As long as they're consistent, they feel that that's the way to go.
Mike Wallace is on the track now. This is the Andy Petrie Racing Chevy, carrying some different colors for Speed Weeks 2002.
Well, this team, the 33 team, looking for a sponsor desperately to try to continue on in 2002. They did pick up some help for this race itself, the Daytona 500, but after this, they might not be at Rockingham. Marty?
Yeah, Mike Wallace completes his first lap. I spent some time with Andy Petrie, the car owner, this morning. He said Autolead, the sponsor on for Daytona, is just for Daytona, but he is working on other sponsorship options for Rockingham and Vegas, and they are preparing cars for Rockingham and Las Vegas, considering the fact that they think Mike Wallace will be going there, whether it's Autolead on the car or another sponsor, but they are going on with preparations for the next 2 races for the 33 car.
Red is bad, green is good in our pace chase gauge. That's comparing Mike Wallace's current lap against the fastest lap in qualifying so far.
This is not too bad. If he could stay right there, it wouldn't be too bad. He'd be up in the top 5. But as you can see, Losing a little bit more ground. Anything under 49 flat is going to be pretty good, and right now he's going to be around somewhere right around 49 seconds flat.
Good. Look at that, fourth.
48.956 seconds, average speed 183.84 miles per hour. This car, the 33 with Mike Walsh driving in winter testing, was about the 8th quickest car.
So Mike Wallace has finished his qualifying run. Ricky Rudd waiting for his chance to get in, go out onto the track.
NBC's coverage of Bud Pole qualifying for the Daytona 500 is brought to you by Ray Bestis, the best in brakes, certified for your safety. By Stacker 2, the world's strongest fat burner. Burn fat, crush cravings, and supercharge your energy. And by Dodge. You can take life as it comes, or you can grab life by the horns. Dodge. Welcome back to Daytona Beach, Florida, the Daytona International Raceway, where qualifying continues for next Sunday's Daytona 500. Greg Biffle making his second of 2 laps. His first lap, 50.007. Very disappointing for him, hoping to pick up some speed here on his second lap. And again, this is a car that must find speed or will have to race its way in the twin qualifying races to be held here next Thursday. So Biffle coming around to get the checkered flag, and we'll see where he falls in the current qualifying grid. Checkered flags are out, and Biffle falls to 12th overall with a time of 49.434 seconds. And we're joined on the wagon by Jeff Gordon. We saw you talking back in the inspection line earlier, but you told me when you sat down, are you more excited about the lap that your car ran as a car owner, or the lap you're about to do?
I'm not sure. That was very exciting. I wasn't expecting that kind of lap. I'm so proud of those guys in that Lowe's Chevrolet team. And Jimmy, you know, he had to drive that thing. That thing got a little loose off of 4, which I got a little nervous there for a second, but Chad and all those guys, you know, did a phenomenal job, and that's the way, you know, we wanted to structure this deal and work together and use the resources of Hendrick Motorsports and come out strong. But I got to admit, I'm pretty excited about the DuPont Chevrolet, because if he ran that kind of a lap, then that's got me really encouraged, because we've been real close. I don't know if we can beat him, but I think we can get close to him.
You've got 4 Winston Cups. You know about talent on the racetrack. Jimmy Johnson has some talent.
He does. He's got a lot of talent in a lot of areas. That's what I like. He's got the whole package. I mean, not only can he get the job done on the racetrack, but I like the way he uses his head. I like the way he handles himself off the racetrack with the sponsors and with the fans. He's just a real likable guy, and a guy that makes for a great teammate for us at Hendrick Motorsports.
Kyle Petty was to be the next qualifier here, but has shut his car off and now coasting around the racetrack on the apron. We'll have to investigate that situation. Disappointing, frustrating year for Kyle in 2001. Had high hopes for here this week in his Sprint Dodge, but right now, a disappointing start to his qualifying attempt. Jeff, we talked this morning. I don't know if you were hedging or not, but you said you weren't sure you'd be up in that front row. How do you feel about it now?
Well, I'm a little more encouraged right now, but again, I don't know if we can run what the 48 ran. We've been about a 10th off of them, you know, all through Daytona testing and since we've been here. But a 10th off of them right now is pretty sporty. And I still know that Dodge of the 22 with Ward Burton is going to be really tough to beat. So I don't know. That's a heck of a lap that Jimmy and those guys just put up. But, you know, we might have a shot at the top 5. If things go as well for us, you know, as it did for them, then we might be able to do it. You know, you put all your things in there and you hope that it picks you up a 100th here and a 100th there, maybe a 10th here, and we'll just see what ends up happening.
Now, last time I saw you at a racetrack was in Loudon, New Hampshire, and you weren't smiling at the end of that race. Yeah,
I was smiling. I was angry smiling. Hey, you know, if a little fire is going to come out, not only on the race car, but come out of me through something like that, then that's fine by me, too. You know, I think that you got to do these days in Winston Cup whatever it takes, and that's probably why I lost the race. And now, now you know, I got to go into 2002 and put myself in that position along the way somewhere during the season, and I'll do whatever it takes for me, you know, to get to victory lane also.
That's a side of you a lot of people hadn't seen before, Jeff.
Well, it's been there. It just, you know, came out of its shell a little bit, I guess. No, I've always been a real aggressive driver when it comes down to a short track, certain places where you got to bump and you got to grind. And I race guys the way they race me. Right. If a guy rubs on me hard, I'm going to rub right back on him, and I've always been like that. But my first approach is to do it clean, and that's the way I prefer to do it because I feel much better about myself when it's all over. But, you know, there are guys that are going to get more aggressive with you, and, you know, they got to expect for people to get more aggressive with them back.
Okay, I'll be watching for that.
You'll be watching for that?
I'll be watching.
Not here at Daytona. 187 miles an hour we'll be doing in the draft. We'll be trying to do it as clean as possible, and did a little drafting this morning with the Bud Shootout car. It's going to be a really good race. It's going to be an interesting race. Coming from 22nd, I'm not really excited about that, but I think it can be done. You know, I really do.
Okay, best of luck down here in
thank
Speed
you.
Weeks.
Appreciate it, guys.
Jeff Gordon starts 22nd. That's last in the Budweiser Shootout here tomorrow. Let's check on Kyle's situation and go to Marty Snyder.
And Kyle was hoping for so many great things this year after disappointing 2001. What happened, Kyle?
Something in the motor broke. I don't know what it was. It broke getting up to speed. And man, when you lean on them as hard as you lean on them down here, I've seen it happen 10 million times. That's nobody's fault. It's just one of the games.
Throughout the week or going out on pit road, any indication at all it might break?
You're smarter than that. Why would you ask a question like that?
I just wanted to check to see if, you know, you felt anything before that. The former pole sitter here at Daytona in 1993, Kyle Petty, did not even take the green flag for his lap today.
And he's in a lot of trouble because he was 42nd in points from last year. He's going to have to make a second-round qualifying run on Monday.
I talked to those guys this morning. Robin Pemberton is now the team manager for that team. They're really pulling their hair out. It seems like they came back with a better car after testing with the better engine, and they lost time on the watch, and they're really frustrated this morning, and this isn't going to help.
Buckshot Jones, another Petty Enterprises car.
At least he made it up to speed.
Yeah. Buckshot's another one. Got to set a good time trial speed today as best he can. He's 41st in points from last year. If he doesn't have a good time trial today, the pressure will all be on him to finish in that top 15 on Thursday in the qualifying races.
And Buckshot hasn't had any speed in the practice session so far, and he still doesn't have a great deal. Just under 180 miles per hour in the first lap. Now, he's going to pick up some, but I don't think he can pick up enough to get him up to a speed to fall back on.
Yeah, even if he picks up 6 or 7 tenths, that's still going to be way down that list.
16th out of 18 on lap 1.
There you see the top 15 qualifiers so far.
Buckshot looking to make his third start in the Daytona 500. His best finish in the race. He's a 29th place run. And here he comes to finish his 2-lap qualifying.
Boy, the nose of that car was jumping around. Wasn't it, BT?
Looked like he was on the bottom of the racetrack off turn 4, and the front end started jumping and just moved up about a half lane.
15th out of 18. Not too good. Going to be a lot of pressure on their shoulders on Thursday in the qualifying races.
And you see the way that the car came through that corner, bouncing around just a moment ago. They can't do that in the 125-mile qualifying race. They're going to have to get their car handling well.
Jeff Gordon, Tony Stewart, Dale Jarrett, all still to make their Daytona 500 qualifying runs. What do you think they're talking about? Fishing.
Nothing important, that's for sure.
Anything to take their mind off it?
Exactly.
All right.
And you know, there you see that shot of those 3 guys. You think back, Bristol, what was it, last year? Tony Stewart and Jeff Gordon. At New Hampshire a couple of years ago with Gordon and Dale Jarrett. I mean, these guys the adrenaline gets flowing. They get so intense that, you know, anything can set these triggers off. But after it's over, 2 weeks later, just like these guys, they're friends again.
How about it, Weber?
Well, talking about Tony and Jeff, there was an interesting on-track development yesterday. Jeff Gordon was out trying to make a mock qualifying run, and Tony Stewart actually jumped out on the track and basically ruined Jeff's run. So Jeff took off after him, and the unwritten rule is if somebody spoils your run, well, you got to go spoil theirs. So Jeff got back in the gas, followed Tony around, and then drafted off him all the way down the backstretch, never making contact, just to make sure Tony wasn't really happy with his lap either. Gordon told me just a few minutes ago they laughed about it later in the garage where they're parked next to each other.
And you're right, Bill. I saw that happen yesterday, and Jeff was all over the back of that 20 car. And when you say ruining a lap, the reason it ruins your lap, it actually helps your lap, but it ruins it being a real lap because you don't obviously get any drafting help in your qualifying lap. So if you go out there and make a mock run and somebody's drafting with you, it's like cheating.
And you know that these guys would not want to do that. Take advantage of their fellow competitor, would they?
God, Ricky Rudd. Talked to him earlier down in the wagon with Weber. Saw his team get in the car through the room of doom. How good's it going to be? Well, right now, not too.
Yeah, he'll be 5th or 6th, I bet.
15th on his first lap, and he'll be 5th or 6th.
What do you think, BP? Back me up here.
Yeah, I think so.
Because we know Alan can't do the math.
That's right.
Marty?
Well, on the wagon, you heard Ricky Rudd talk about building this car in 8 days. They were so unsatisfied with their test down here. There was a bare chassis, a Speedway chassis, sitting in the shop when they got back. They put all the sheet metal on it in 8 days. They had 2 people on it 24 hours a day for those 8 days. And that process, just to give you a clue, normally takes about 14 to 15 days as Rudd takes the checkered flag. Or the green flag. Green flag. Well, they gave him the white flag last time.
It wasn't supposed to be the green flag. It was supposed to be the checkered flag.
Hey, he's done. I don't care what flag they wave. It's over with.
Where did he wind up, Alan?
I think Jimmy got confused there. Where did he wind up? 6th.
Oh, 6th, he said.
You said 5th, didn't you?
I said 5th or 6th.
Oh, okay.
49.004, 183.658. That's a pretty good lap. It's 6th best out of the 21 cars, but I do believe that they will be disappointed that they aren't about a quarter of a second faster than that.
At least Marty's report there on Rudd's car was a little bit better than that question he asked Kyle.
I can't. Boy, what was Marty thinking?
6th fastest for Ricky Rudd out of 19 that have gone so far. A total of 51 drivers to make their Bud Pole qualified laps, and a lot of heavy hitters still to come. Speaking of heavy hitters, Sunday at 5 Eastern, 2 Pacific on NBC, it's the NBA All-Star Game 2002. Michael Jordan back as an All-Star, taking on Iverson, Kobe, and more. It's the NBA All-Star Game tomorrow at 5 Eastern, 2 Pacific on NBC. A little All-Star game of our own here at Daytona tomorrow. Budweiser shootout, last year's Bud Pole Award winners, plus a couple of former champions of that race, 22 strong, 70 laps, about $1 million on the line. Should be fun. 1:30 Eastern tomorrow on TNT. You'll see that one. The Budweiser shootout.
And we talked about Jeff Gordon will start 22nd, dead last.
That may be the funnest part of all.
Yep.
A lot of questions with the rule changes this year. Will anybody be able to pass? This good little experiment to put Gordon in the back of a 70-lap sprint race and find out.
There won't be too much sandbagging tomorrow in that race.
No.
Especially with $1 million up for grabs. To be divided amongst 22 drivers.
This is Kevin Harvick. Richard Childress Racing. Good red Chevrolet. Green flag for Harvick. Looking to make his first start in the Daytona 500.
Really strange. Kevin Harvick was 10th fastest in yesterday morning's practice, and yesterday afternoon did not practice. The car sat in the garage area. I guess it is what it is, and it felt like there was no more speed to be found.
Sometimes if you have a hand grenade underneath the hood, you don't want to put too many laps under it, and I'll guarantee you he's got one.
Well, that's what I asked him. What is this, a 10-lap motor that you have in this car? Because so far, they have about 2 laps on this car. Marty, what's Rudd having to say?
Well, for a car built in 8 days, I'd say he's a pretty happy guy, are you?
Well, you know, we'd love to do better than that, Marty. We came out here yesterday, and we thought we had a shot at the maybe 3rd. We didn't think we for sure we're going to be front row material, but it looks like we'll probably shake out somewhere around 10th, and hopefully we're racing for fastest in class. You know, the Fords down here kind of handicapped with the rule structure NASCAR's dished out, so we'll do the best we can.
All right, he said he's best in class, and that is the case thus far. First 5 cars are Chevrolets. Ricky Rudd is 6th.
No wonder he didn't practice. Look at this. He's a 10th of a second faster. Look at that. In the green side, that's good. Green is good.
The pin is out. They pulled the pin.
Uh-oh. He's losing some ground down the backstretch. Getting slower and slower. The engine must be overheated. Now, as he gets to the corner, he's getting faster.
Picks up speed.
Picks up speed in the corners.
Now he's got enough speed through 3 and 4 to hold it what he's going to lose on the straightaway.
It's going down. This is going to be close.
It's going to be so very, very close.
Is it fast enough?
No, it looks like it.
Oh. From turn 4 to the start-finish line, he lost it.
Oh, man. 16 one-thousandths of a second slower than Jimmy Johnson. Great lap, 48.447.
Kevin Harvick, now the second quickest car in Bud Pole qualifying for the Daytona 500. Some heavy hitters coming up. Elvis is in the building. Hut Strickland, who bears a remarkable resemblance to the younger Elvis, is on the track now in a Bill Davis Racing Dodge. Looking to qualify for his 9th Daytona 500.
This is the same team that Dave Blaney drove for last year with number 93 on the car. And they finished 26 in the owner point standing. So if Hutt does not have a good qualifying run, that might be able to get him in the Daytona 500.
If he picks up here what everybody else is picking up, he may wind up close to that 10th spot.
We find out.
11th. Pretty close to that 10th.
Very good, Wall. Very good.
Another bad lap, 49.312 seconds, 182.51 miles per hour. Marty, what's Harvick saying about that lap?
Well, your theory, Ben, he might be right that he didn't practice just so he wouldn't show what he had. Is that the case there, Kevin?
Well, I mean, we knew we had a good race car, and these guys at RCR are a lot more experienced at this than I am, and they said, just don't worry about it. We don't need to practice. Everything's good. And we spent 3 days down here testing, so and we've got 3 team cars, so we've had plenty of time to figure out what's going on. But my hat's off to these Goodwrench guys. I mean, they've worked hard all winter long. Richard Childers went and made a huge commitment to putting all 3 teams in one shop, and we've got 3 times the amount of people, so there's no reason why we shouldn't be better, and right now I think it's showing.
An impressive run for the sophomore driver, and let's go to Matt Yoakum.
And Marty, Dale Jarrett eagerly anticipating a delivery, waiting for your car on the grid here, DJ?
Yeah, I've done my job. I'm here and ready, but don't know where the car is. I know that inspection's taking a little longer today. NASCAR's really going through everything, and so hopefully it'll be here soon.
Now, your teammate basically ran a flat. Do you feel like you can beat that?
Well, I thought when I walked up here, Tony asked what I could run, and I thought I could run maybe 48.90, but Ricky's been faster than us the entire time, so I'm not sure. I'd like, we ran like a 95 or 6 yesterday, and I thought we could pick up a little bit, even though it's a little warmer today. But judging by Ricky, I'll probably be somewhere around from a flat to a 10.
Now, we were talking during break that Tony Stewart, who was talking to Dale Jarrett, you guys, Wally said maybe you were talking about fishing, Benny thought maybe food, but really you guys were talking about Dave Marcus and what could be a very lucrative piece on eBay maybe after this weekend.
Yeah, we were trying to figure out how much we thought that last set of wingtips would cost after his last race here. It's neat to see the excitement. I mean, we were just standing here. We were both waiting on our cars to get here. It's like we're all dressed up for the prom and no dates right now, but it was neat to see the excitement and how excited he is getting ready to qualify and knowing it's a part of history this weekend.
A lot of people eagerly hoping that Dave Marcus does indeed qualify for the 44th running at the Daytona 500, Alan.
Jeff Gordon is on track. 2-time 500 champion, 97 and 99.
And we can see the last 5 Daytona races. What do you say, Alan?
Not too good.
Exactly.
Well, he's had his struggles here recently. Paint scheme a little different this year. DuPont celebrating its 200th anniversary this year, so that's why the car looks different at this race and a couple of others through the season. And it is Gordon's team car, the one that he co-owns, that he's trying to beat.
All right, starting that all-important second lap. See the first lap pretty good, under 9 flat.
Does he get him or not? He's got to make up a half a second.
All right, let's see. So far, he's a 1/10 of a second slower and losing ground.
I was fishing for a prediction there from Wall, but it's too late now.
No. Normally, if you're going to 1 and you're that far back, you're not going to make it up. As far as on the
he's losing time.
The pace chase there. Be in the top 3 though, for sure.
But only the top 2 are guaranteed their starting spot for the 500.
Well, I think he's got a pretty much guaranteed.
Well, he'll be in the race, but I mean, he's not guaranteed how far back he might start. Anything could happen in those qualifying races Thursday.
And you're right, 3rd best, Wally. 48.520 seconds. Average speed, 185.49 miles per hour. So he ends up 7/100ths of a second slower than his teammate, Jimmy Johnson.
And let's go down to, I'll tell you what, somebody's got the best seat in the house today. Florida Sunshine, Daytona's victory lane, talking to drivers. Weber, you got it.
This is unbelievable. And we're joined now by Bestest Rookie of the Year candidate Ryan Newman, currently 13th. And your guys really had to bust it back there to make that car go for you today, didn't they?
They did. The Alto guys did a great job from last night when we ended practice not the way we wanted to this morning, and basically getting a half second from nowhere. Just a lot of hard work by the guys, and you know, got to thank them for that.
They're working on the sheet metal by the left rear wheel. Was that the big deal?
Yeah, the whole point of here these super speedway races is to get the back end of the car down as far as you can, and that gets that spoiler out of the air. And we had to get that left rear fender out of the way so that the car could come down because the tire was hitting it. So, and I think that was pretty big because we're actually scrubbing the left rear tire on the body, and that's like hitting the brakes, and that's no good.
Okay, now you're a freshman. You ran a handful of races last year. You're a freshman in Winston Cup, but tomorrow the advanced class, the Budweiser shootout for you and 21 other superstars. How's that been going in practice?
Well, that's what I was just saying earlier, that, you know, class begins tomorrow for the shootout, and it's going to be great to be able to experience, you know, the drafting and things like that, you know, getting the opportunity to draft with Rusty for the first time. It's really going to be awesome. Did you get much of that in practice here so far? Not really in practice. We did when we tested here. We came down and got the test together according to the owner's points, and that afternoon when we drafted together, it was really awesome just to be able to be here at Daytona and testing and drafting. But now we're here for the race, and now that it's important. Now you and I have been sitting here for a while watching on TV these guys making their qualifying runs. Right now, the two-car of your teammate Rusty Wallace going out on the track to make his qualifying attempt. How much leadership and assistance has he provided to you, Ryan? Pretty big. I mean, Rusty's got a lot of experience here, not just in setting up the cars, but you know, seat of the pants driving. He knows where the bumps are. He knows, just like right now, he knows to run high, build that speed for that first lap, get that motor wound up, just get the car feeling good, get the back end of that car down. Sometimes you can use the bumps at this racetrack to jack the back end of the car down, and you know, that's important to get that spoiler out of the air. Rusty Wallace coming around to get the green flag for the first of his two qualifying laps. During testing here, I watched for a few minutes, you and Rusty on the ground underneath one of his race cars. Just little things he's teaching you about setting up the car? A lot of the issues getting these cars to travel is all about geometry, whether it's your shock angles or where the springs are located, where the track bars rake, things like that. And you know, we look underneath there and we see if there's one car that's his car versus my car. If it's just a 1/16 of an inch different, it could be an 1/8 of an inch in travel, and you know, that could be 2/10 of a second. It's so critical. It's amazing, isn't it? It really is. Just, you know, it's the things that I went to school for as far as engineering and figuring out geometry, physics, math, all that stuff. I mean, it really pays off. But, you know, you still got to sit behind that wheel and drive the car the best you can on race day. Rusty Wallace coming around to get the white flag, completing the first of his two qualifying laps for next Sunday's Daytona 500 and 21st overall on his first lap. Gonna have to assume he was running high up there to try and build up some speed for his second lap. We've been watching the pace chase. Obviously, Rusty would dearly love to try and grab one of those front row spots, but in essence, he just wants to get the best time he can right here. Yeah, he's you know, he's sitting down in the back straightaway right now just thinking, man, I wish this car would go a little bit faster. But, you know, you got the pedal to the floor and you got your foot off the brake, and you're trying to be as smooth as you can with that steering wheel, not scrubbing his feet off with those tires, and like he's holding the car right there, you know, about a foot and a half off that yellow line, just keeping a nice, smooth, even arc, and all the scrub off those tires that he possibly can. Okay, Alan, let's see where he falls in Bud Pole qualifying.
I don't think he's going to be very happy with it.
No, he's going up somewhere about 12th, 13th, 14th, somewhere in there. And where'd he end up?
13th.
13th.
Out of 23. And we're only halfway through.
So, yeah, if halfway is, he'll end up being the 26th fastest car. We see they're right together. 49.368, 182.30. I was talking about Rusty Wallace and Ryan Newman ended up 12th and 13th and 14th.
Coming up on the midway point of the Bud Pole qualifying session at Daytona, 2 fast laps to try and get us front row starting spot for the 44th running of the Great American Race. Dave Marcus when we come back.
How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? Well, thanks for asking. I'm doing fine. Just got in today. My brother-in-law picked me up at the airport. Mighty big airport y'all got here. And the people here are so nice. You want a beer? I want a bud. How you doing? 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 I'm doing fine. I just got here today. My brother-in-law picked me up at the airport, and the people sure are nice.
Nice people.
How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? I'm doing fine. I just got here. My brother-in-law came and picked me up from the airport. It's a mighty big...
Come to Pep Boys for all of your car care needs. Buy an Energizer battery starting as low as $69.99. Get an Energizer battery at Pep Boys today and we'll guarantee it for 24 months and give you free jumpstart service for 3 years. Come to Pep Boys for an Energizer battery today.
If you can unlock the secrets of nature, you can find miracles. At DuPont, we've been finding them for 200 years now. Miracles that have taken us from here to there. From this to that. And from where we are to a better, brighter world. DuPont, the miracles of science.
Right on target. Now, Grecian 5 hair color targets only your gray hair to leave subtle tones like your own natural color, all in 5 easy minutes. Grecian 5 targets only the gray.
Really serious about fantasy racing? Then log on to America Online and go to NASCAR.com. Where else? The all-new NASCAR.com. America Online keyword NASCAR.
One of the great stories of Speed Weeks 2002. Dave Marcus trying to qualify for the Daytona 500. What will be his last race as a driver. 60 years old, his first race, this one back in 1968. And how about that number?
16 of the drivers were not even born yet when Marcus qualified for his first Daytona 500.
Dave running a very modest racing operation out of the Asheville, North Carolina area. Still to this day, especially compared to most of these behemoth factories with hundreds of employees that Winston Cup teams have become. Call the shop, they drag him out from under a race car to answer the phone if he doesn't answer it himself.
Not a bad first lap. A 49.732. If he can pick up a half second, he'll get down around, 10th or 11th someplace. And this speed that you see, Marcus is +4. He's in the red. He's almost a half second slower than the pole speed. But again, that pole speed was a 48.43. So he's going to be about a 49 flat, looks like.
Dave without really a good position in points to fall back on from last season, so he needs this time trial lap in case something goes wrong Thursday in the qualifying races to try and get into the Daytona 500.
It's a great qualifying lap. 49.111 seconds, 183.26 miles per hour. Hey, here's Dave.
I hadn't seen him in a while, but I'll bet we can find him.
Dave!
Benny! Oh, I got the best view in the house up here on top of the Winston Tower. It's about 8 stories up in the air, and it's got a special spot created for the spotters, the guys who with their radio headsets communicate with the drivers as far away as nearly 3/4 of a mile over in turn 3, telling their drivers if they're clear to park in that spot that's about as wide as their car is, as long as their car is, and the most difficult down out of turn 4, where they've got them all lined up together and depth perception comes into play, and it's very difficult to tell them. But they tell them lap after lap where they are in relation to the other drivers. Now, here in Daytona, the first known use of a radio to communicate with the crew was back in 1952 using one of these handy talkies. I don't think Marcus had one. Benny, I don't think you had one, but Al Stevens, a modified sportsman driver, when they still raced on the beach, had a wrecker service. And he thought, if I can get these installed to some guys in the turns and this in my car, I can communicate with them. And he did, and they even avoided a wreck one time by using this system. It's a lot better today, and the drivers will use their spotters all race long during the 500 and during the shootout.
Hey, Dave, got a question for you.
Benny.
Ask the 22 guy what he's doing up there spotting for qualifying.
Benny, he's here for us, is what he is, so that I could illustrate that there actually are people who stand here. By the time they do the race, though, they'll be lined up from end to end with the spotters, one from each team required by NASCAR, and back on the backstretch, there's an additional stand on top of the grandstands that they have the option of putting another spotter out there, so these guys are just helping us out.
Oh, just fill-ins.
They're for show.
Just for show. I thought it was some kind of trick.
No, no tricks.
You're tricking me, Dave.
And as soon as that old hand telephone came up, Wally's eyes lit up.
That is so cool. Did you use one of those? No. Like, because you didn't use helmets when you started racing, right? A long time ago. So you could have used one of those.
We just showed Dave Marcus he ran his first Daytona 500 before I ran my first one. I didn't run the Daytona 500 until 1969.
They had telephones then, though, didn't they?
Oh, yeah, they had phones then. We did not have radios, though, and trust me, trying to read the pit board as you go back down the tri-oval at 190 miles per hour and look to pit road and read a pit board was very difficult. Radios is probably the best thing they've ever invented for race cars.
And the worst thing, sometimes.
And the worst thing, that's right.
You never unplugged the earplugs while you were racing, did you? Yeah, let's go to Bill Weber.
Okay, down here in victory lane on the wagon with Kevin Harvick, currently second. And outstanding day for you, but how about those guys up there? I mean, Benny telling stories and Wally busting on Benny.
I can't believe Benny didn't remember the phone. They must have had radios when Benny started, but I guess Dave Burns didn't get the memo on not to wear your cell phone on your hip.
Yeah,
on
you
TV.
busted him on that, didn't you? Got him. So it was all about telephones, wasn't it?
It's all about telephones.
Hey, you're going to stay there? That'd be big.
I don't know. I mean, it's so hard to tell. You know, yesterday we didn't practice in the afternoon because we didn't want to put any extra laps on our motor because that's the motor we're going to race in the 125. So, you know, right now it's just up in the air. It's getting cooler. The wind's blowing. So I don't know what's going to help you more, the cool air or the wind blowing.
Well, we'll find out. Tony Stewart on the track just took the green. This is the first of his 2 qualifying laps. Obviously, for you, this is a tremendous opportunity. Great qualifying run. Daytona 500. You have to be excited.
Well, I mean, growing up as a kid, I mean, this is the race that you made sure that you watched every year. And racing stock cars, this is the race that you wanted to be in. And now the Daytona 500 is a little over a week away, and we're going to be in it. So that's a lot of excitement for me, and I'm looking forward to it.
Tony Stewart in the Home Depot Pontiac coming off turn 4, gets the white flag, completing the first of his 2 qualifying laps here at Daytona. 20th for the 20 car on that first lap, and we'll watch the pace chase. I want to ask you about the front row and you young guys battling some of these veterans, not only here at Daytona, but throughout the season. You guys are kind of the new breed here, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, you know, there's always going to be a clash between people, but I described it to somebody the other day. I said, it's like arguing with my dad. It's, sometimes, you know, it's like I'm 25 and some of them are 45, so they're about the same age as my father was, so it's almost like a clash against father-son, and we're out here trying to rebel against everything they say we should do.
All right, good luck.
Thanks.
That's Kevin Harvick, Alan. Let's see how Tony Stewart brings it home.
Hey, Bill, did he say that he was going to run that engine in the 125, Kevin? Is that what you said?
That's the plan as far as I know.
So it wasn't a real bomb. They're going to run the engine 125 miles.
Nope, that's the plan as far as I know, unless they changed it on me. So I could be sitting up here lying to you, Benny.
You wouldn't do that, would you?
Yeah. As far as I know, we're going to race that motor in the 125.
Okay, well, the guys are probably watching back there, so we'll find out.
They'll correct me, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, because they're big about correcting drivers.
And they'll enjoy it.
Yeah. Tony Stewart, 9th fastest. What do you think?
Not a bad lap, 49.069.
Should I throw you under the bus here?
Yeah.
See, these guys have been making predictions after the guy's lap 1 time where he'll come out on lap 2, and they both held up 4 fingers. Then they held up 5 fingers.
No, whoa. We were combining that. So he was going to wind up 10th,
yeah,
and he wound up 9th.
Yeah. Uh-huh. It was 8th. I thought 8th to begin with. Wally said 10th.
Yeah, all right. Speaking of 10th, Dave Marcus is 10th fastest. You lie. Help me out here, Marty.
Well, Dave Marcus looks like he will continue the streak, Alan. Dave, looks like you've qualified fast enough at least to make the field no matter what happens Thursday.
Well, I mean, I hope we have. It would be a great honor to be able to be in my 33rd Daytona 500, and my career began here in 1968, so it means an awful lot to me to be able to be in it. I hope the time stays reasonably close to where it's at, and that means that we'd be insured probably of getting in, even if we had a problem in the 125-miler.
All right, and Tony Stewart did talk to Dave about his wing tips, and he said, you know, that's going to be my retirement fund. I can auction those off, and I'll be just fine.
Probably so. All right. We wish Dave well on Sunday. Now, when you win the Daytona 500, they take your race car. You're paid about $100 grand for it, but they take your race car and put it in Daytona, USA, which is a museum/racing attraction out in front of the Speedway. This car that Dale Jarrett's driving was in the museum for a year.
Do you have to give the money back?
No. Okay.
No, they just used the car for a year. They paid $100,000 to rent the car for a year.
That's a pretty good deal.
Not a bad deal.
Won the 500 in this car in February 2000. The car went into the attraction over here for a year, got it back, and now here it is going to try and win the 500 again. 3 times Dale Jarrett has won the Great American Race, and let's ride with him on his qualifying laps.
Watch his hands on the wheel.
All you can do is try not to turn the wheel as, you know, turn that thing the least amount as possible and be smooth with it. So watch him come off of 2 here. Real easy off the steering wheel. And just kind of keep that thing as straight as possible, BP, going down the straightaway.
And you can see down the straightaway, he's only picking up 1 mile per hour more than he turned down in the corner. As just as he drops it off in the corner, going down 3, as he goes downhill, he did pick up another mile per hour, but as soon as he hits the bank, he goes back to 180. And I'm impressed how it stays at 180 through the corner.
And this is just lap 1. And he stayed low, too. He was low coming through that time.
Now he's on the money lap.
First lap was 49.502.
So that puts him 20th. And we check our NBC pace chase on lap number 2.
This is not too bad. He's ended up about what he thought he would run, about a 48.90 or something like that, which will put him, I don't know, somewhere between 4th and 8th.
Way down on the bottom that time. Got that bump right here.
He might end up being about 4th best. He's losing no time as he comes off the corner.
Flags are blowing out. Is there any issue here? So what is? Flags? Yeah, but it's been like that since the first guy. So they all been even on the wind, I think, so far.
7th best, 48.990, 183.71 miles per hour for Garrett.
26 of 51 drivers have finished Bud Pole qualifying.
To win 500 miles of wheel-to-wheel drama. Reigning NASCAR champion Jeff Gordon, the aggressive Tony Stewart, heir apparent Dale Earnhardt Jr. It's the Great American Race, the Daytona 500, next Sunday, noon Eastern, NBC.
Get your hands on the hardest driving CD of the year, NASCAR Full Throttle. The official NASCAR soundtrack featuring Metallica, Creed, POD, and many more. Don't be caught at the finish line without your copy of Full Throttle. Available now.
They're running Full Throttle here in Daytona, not just on the track either.
NASCAR is truly a sponsor-driven sport.
How about that? But they're having a good time. If the weather's bad where you are around the country, I must tell you it's about 75 degrees here on Florida's East Coast today, and it's perfect.
Jeremy Mayfield driving for Ray Evernham in 2002, a teammate to Bill Elliott with the Dodge Dealers car. First lap was 22nd best. Think he'll be 10th this time?
I think so. He hurries. He's trying.
Yo! Right on.
Very good.
49.006 seconds. 183.65 miles per hour. Well, that's about a 49 flat.
And a very solid run for Jeremy Mayfield driving for Ray Evernham. Benny, and I'm on the wagon now with Shauna Robinson, just about 10 cars away from trying to become the second woman to qualify for the Daytona 500. What's the crystal ball say?
Crystal ball says we'll do it. We've been pretty consistent with our testing times. We really can't seem to get out of that zone, but you know, you have to race your way into this thing anyway, so I'm not really worried about that.
Now, you had some troubles here yesterday.
Yeah, we did. In the second practice run, we broke a transmission, broke the drive shaft, and kind of set us out there for a little while. So at least it happened yesterday. We seem to be getting all that out of the way, and we feel pretty good about this run. I think, you know, we just want to pick up from where we've been because we just haven't seemed to get off of 50, so we need to pick that up.
Now, your basically new race team opened their shop December 15th and built that car that's here. You don't have a car ready for Las Vegas yet, your next race.
December 15th, it seems more like January 15th, I think. Yeah, we actually, our Vegas car isn't even ready yet, so we didn't get to test there, but these guys have done a lot just to get us here to Daytona. We have 2 brand new race cars, and it's exciting. I mean, Beth Ann Morgenthau, which is the BAM, which everybody questions, what is that? But they, her and her husband are just giving me the opportunity. They completely believe in me that I can drive in Winston Cup, and they're supporting me to do that. And obviously, there's a lot of people looking for sponsors, and we are one of them, but we're in a real good position. I am really excited about it. It just feels right. Everything about the timing of this feels right. We have a lot of women in sports really excelling, and I think that we'll fit right in.
And a second-place run for you here in the ARCA race in 1999. Obviously, as Kenny Wallace continues or makes his qualifying attempt here, that 1999 ARCA race was exciting to watch, but big for you.
It was huge for me because I had been out since '95, and I made a commitment to myself that I wouldn't get in bad equipment anymore, so I drove for James Finch, which is a good direction to go. And first time I ever sat in an ARCA car, and we finished second here under caution, so you never know what would have happened. And Daytona's been pretty good to me. '88 was the first time I ever drove a stock car on a speedway, and I finished third in the dash race my first time here at Daytona. So I like the place. I like this type of racing, and we're excited.
A lot of people rooting for you. Best of luck.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you.
Got some breaking news. Let's check in with Matt Yoakum.
And Bill, I'm back here in the inspection area passing the gas pumps. The 92 car of Robert Presley is being pushed out. They have 2 minutes left. They are on the 5-minute clock. Mark Melling, the owner. What has been the holdup, Mark?
It's just been a long line here at Tech. You know, they take their time interviewing. I mean, really looking over everybody, and a lot of cars got in front of us. They pushed them in front, but I think we'll be okay. We're in line a couple hours before time, so it just went slow, but I think we're going to be okay.
The 92 car is being pushed out. Remember, back here in the inspection area, it's a very long process. In fact, Ward Burton's car got in line at 12:08, and they have yet to hit the Room of Doom, where they start doing a lot of the shocks and springs testing. So it is a very long process. Remember, the 92 car did win 2 poles last year on the restrictor plate tracks at Talladega. They had high hopes here this weekend. Alan?
Kenny Wallace, Dale Earnhardt Incorporated Pennzoil Chevy, subbing for Steve Park in that car.
Ends up 11th best. Almost a 49 flat, 49.030, 183.56 miles per hour. Marty, who'd you capture now?
I've captured Dale Jarrett, and halfway through qualifying, a little over halfway here, you are 7th fastest. That's a long way from where you were in January testing when you left absolutely miserable.
Yeah, we weren't very good, but it just shows the type of team that we have. They went back, they worked awful hard. We used a test at Talladega to try to make sure that when we came here that we were at least going to give ourselves a chance to win this race.
Sometimes it does take a lot of effort. Testing at Daytona and Talladega for Dale Jarrett's team. 7th fastest thus far.
All right, Marty, thanks. Bobby Labonte is up onto the racetrack now. Remember the last time we saw this car on a restrictor plate track, BP?
Is this the Talladega bomb?
This was the one that was upside down last time we saw it, sliding down the backstretch on its roof.
And the last lap with the EA Sports 500. Flip coming off turn 2. Now says this is the very car.
This is what happened.
Oh, there we go.
Back in October. Bobby Hamilton and Labonte both fighting for the same piece of racetrack, and over on its lid. Setting off a big 20-some car wreck on the final lap, while Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Tony Stewart raced back around with the checkered flag.
That's got to be the wildest thing in the world, to sit there upside down, sliding for, what, 10 or 12 seconds maybe?
Yeah, and waiting to get hit. That's the worst part. That's what you're sitting there going, oh, I hope nobody hits me.
Bobby Labonte, the 98 Bud Pole winner for the Daytona 500, looking to make his 10th start in the race. Last year was not a good year here at Daytona for him. He started 37th and he finished 40th in the 500. He was involved in a huge multi-car wreck on the backstretch with about 17 laps to go in the race.
I think his teammate Tony Stewart came down on top of him, as a matter of fact.
And they were running about 20 positions apart on the racetrack when the wreck started. 28th in practice for Bobby.
27th best his first lap, but he will pick it up. He'll get down somewhere around 13th, 14th probably.
He'll be right next to his teammate. Tony Stewart is now 12th.
And you can see by our NBC pace chase that he's not going to have a chance to be on the front row.
A different paint scheme on that car this year. The black and red kind of woven in there a little differently than they had been in the past.
As you see that red bubble going farther to farther left. Red is bad, green is good.
Talked to Bobby a little while this morning. He said he didn't figure he'd qualify all that well, but the car felt like it would draft very good for the race.
Hey, this is not a bad lap.
Real good lap.
Gets under the 49 flat, gets to 48.973. His average speed was 183.78 miles per hour.
So Bobby Labonte will be in the Daytona 500 on Sunday, and let's hear from a driver who's going to run late, who could bump those Chevrolets off the front row. Matt?
Alan, earlier in the show, Jeff Gordon mentioned the 22 Cat car of Ward Burton as being the car to beat for the pole. Ward, a lot of guys looking at your team to take home the big money today.
We got a good shot at it. All the Bill Davis racers worked really hard this winter, and we're real prepared for this upcoming season. My Caterpillar team, they have put a lot of extra work into this car, and Terry Elledge and all of them put a lot of work in the motor department. So it'll be interesting to see what we can do out there, but there's no sure pole in the makings here, but we're going to give it everything we got.
You told me earlier that you thought by the time your car got to turn 1, if you took the green, you know at that point whether it's going to be a pole lap or just a good lap, don't you? Yeah,
I'll know about RPM. You know, from testing down here and all-day practice yesterday, I'm going to know pretty much when I go into 1 what we got by the RPM gauge. So I think we're going to have a great lap. Let's just hope it's good enough.
They have had a great restrictor plate program in the past. They sat on the outside pole back in July and started 10th in last year's 500 and led the most laps. But then, Alan, they were involved in that big crash in the backstretch.
Yep. Robbie Gordon, that bump in the back there, and by the time it was over, there were about 20 of them involved. Mark Martin coming up to speed next. While he gets his Ford wound up, I'm just looking at the standings right now. The top 6 qualifiers are all Chevrolets.
I'm seeing a pattern there.
Makings of a little controversy afterwards.
Oh, yeah.
First non-Chevrolet is Bobby Labonte's Pontiac in 7th, and Dale Jarrett's Ford in 8th. First Dodge right now is Jeremy Mayfield in 11th. And again, several of the fast Dodges still to go. Sterling Marlin, Ward Burton, and Bill Elliott will be 3 of the last 4 cars to run.
I guess that was a radio wire swing in there, wasn't it?
I was wondering what that was.
Sometimes they'll take the radio off the roof to get all the slick on it, you know, not have anything. That looks like it probably got plugged, but I don't know.
We can see Dale Jarrett on his first lap was around 180 miles per hour down in turn 1. You see Mark at 177. You know, just 2-3 miles per hour is the difference of being 8th place and 28th place.
The Mark is only 46th fastest in practice. Not very good.
He stayed the same speed almost the whole way down the backstretch. And he only lost 1 mile an hour. Just lost about a 1 mile an hour to 3 and 4.
As you can see, he has a little bit of a tailwind down the front stretch.
Lap number 1 for Mark, 28th out of 30. A 50.100.
There's the cat in the hat, Jack Roush. Watching intently as his car, driven by Mark Martin, goes down the backstretch.
There's big news with this team in the offseason. Roush shuffling the crews between Kurt Busch and Mark Martin. So Mark no longer working with Jimmy Fenny and Sean Parker and the people he had been with for several years. Now Ben Leslie and a young group of guys are with Mark Martin.
Jack, you're not going to like what you're going to see.
Ouch. 20th out of 30.
49.373 average speed for Mark, 182.29 miles per hour. But that is a lot better. It's about a half second better than he had practiced.
Mark is 13th on points from last year, so he's going to be in the Daytona 500, but he's going to be starting probably through the back. Last time we were here at Daytona for NASCAR Winston Cup Series racing, one of the most memorable nights this speedway has seen, as Dale Earnhardt Jr., in the first race back at this speedway since his father lost his life here, rallied from 6th to 1st in the final laps and then set off a wild victory celebration with his teammate Michael Waltrip and a lot of their other friends.
And Chocolate Myers has to come over and congratulate. And here the crew comes, and Junior just dives in the mob. That was one of the most exciting moments I've seen in stock car racing.
It was special. Dale Jr. said upon arriving here in Daytona this week, he was asked again the question about coming here and the memories of his father, and he said, I got over that last July. He said, now I'm here to go racing. Let's go. I want to win the Daytona 500. First step right now. 2 laps, Bud Pole qualifying. We ride with him. He was 8th fastest in practice.
Got pretty good speed so far.
Yes.
Already.
It's about like Dale Jarrett as he goes to the corner.
Right in that headwind right there. You don't gain too much going down fairway. You should pick up a couple mile-an-hour going back out of fourth towards turn 1.
Mr. Fogg looking ahead to next Sunday's Daytona 500. Dale Earnhardt Jr. has won the last 2 straight restricted plate races in NASCAR. Here last July that we showed you a minute ago, and last October at Talladega. If he should win the Daytona 500, a 3rd straight restricted plate win would tie a record his father holds.
Pretty good first lap, 49.560, but he's just down in turn 1, and already he's about 0.2 of a second slower than Jimmy Johnson and losing ground. I'll tell you what, in the practice yesterday for the Budweiser shootout cars, this 8 car, Junior's car, looked pretty doggone good. Obviously, it's not this very car. They have a different car they'll be racing tomorrow, but the car he's going to be using looks very competitive.
And sometimes you'll have a car that qualifies and it just doesn't go fast by itself. But when it gets around other cars, for whatever reason, whether it's air in the cowl or whatever, the car's a rocket ship.
Final numbers for Dale Jr. 13th is where he'll sort out. Right next to his teammate Kenny Wallace.
And there are 5 1/1000ths of a second difference between he and Wallace. Junior ran 49.035. Kenny Wallace ran 0.30.
31 cars have finished their Bud Pole qualifying runs. 20 left to go. You're watching NASCAR on NBC. Todd Bodine is on track now, the 32nd driver to attempt qualifying for the Daytona 500. His first lap left him 30th fastest.
And 22nd best. On his second lap, picked up about a half second. 49.395, 182.21 miles per hour. Marty Snyder.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. is 13th right now, and your engine builder Richie Gilmore told me his goal was 10th, so he didn't quite meet that.
Yeah, we didn't. The car really hadn't done much in qualifying trim. You know, I don't know, you know, it seemed like we lost a little bit in qualifying trim. I'm kind of disappointed so far, but we're going to race real good. We always do. So it'll be a lot of fun kind of come up through there.
Yeah, they promised me it's a rocket ship on Sunday, and he's 13th thus far, Alan.
Well, let's see. Burns was in a bobsled earlier, up on the spotter stand, out in front of the speedway at the Dale Earnhardt statue. Where are you now, Burns?
Well, Alan, you know, it's been a long time since they've raced on the sand here at Daytona in stock cars, but they still race on the sand with 4-legged power here. And this is one of the stars here at the Daytona Beach Kennel Club. This is Mr. NASCAR. Now, he won his race today, and we need to know, though, he got in the way of a couple of dogs there. Mr. NASCAR, did number 8 kind of got into the side of you a couple times, didn't he? Yeah, I think that's a yes. And what we really want to know, though, is if you saw Benny Parsons, what would you say to him?
Ooh, that hurt. That hurt.
Yeah, I think he gives you the nose up there, Benny, or something like that. But this place opened here in 1948, and whenever you drive by the Speedway, you see the dog track. You think, did they race dogs there? Yes, they do. It has nothing to do with the Speedway, really, but it's been here since 1948, and they still run day after day, weekend after weekend, and Mr. NASCAR is just part of the show.
Hey, Dave.
Go ahead.
How did Benny's Biscuit do today?
Benny's Biscuit, he was only a show, and I think he only paid like $2.
That's a shame, because he's usually really fast there, BP.
Benny's Biscuit?
Yep.
You know, they had a dog named Benny Parsons there a couple of years ago.
Really?
Yeah. And he won one night, and I didn't realize he was racing. I've gone over and placed a $2 wager.
And what happened to him?
He won.
He won?
Yeah.
But, I mean, what happened to him afterwards?
Well, he probably got adopted by somebody.
Either that or he got in the buffet line maybe once too many times.
Oh,
slowed down a little bit.
That could be.
Little delay on the on-track proceedings here on the paved side of things in Daytona. Let's take a break. Ricky Craven on the track when we come back.
I got the whole racing world in the palm of my hand.
In the Bud Shootout, second and on back, nobody cares.
It's a prestige, it's an ego. Everybody's going for it.
You don't hold anything back in the shootout. It's one of the funnest races of the year.
Yeah, that's Daytona. Let's rock and roll.
And our coverage of the Budweiser Shootout begins at 1:30 Eastern Time tomorrow on TNT. And don't miss it. 22 guys in a dash for cash with Jeff Gordon starting 22nd. That would be last. Ricky Craven hopes to be first in the Daytona 500 on the track, making his 2 qualifying laps for next Sunday's 44th running of the Daytona 500. The green flag is out for the Tide Ford of Ricky Craven. And I'm on the wagon in victory lane with Jeff Burton and a member of the Roush stables. And I hate to put it this way, but you boys have struggled since you got
We
here.
have struggled in a bad way. Mark just had a great lap for how fast we'd run. And,
that's 21st.
He's 21st.
Yeah. And that's great.
Well, from how he had run, that's a great lap. He described it as pulling a rabbit out of their hat, and that's what they did. But, you know, we worked real hard over the winter to get ready for Daytona. But I guess we just didn't do the right thing. It's not from a lack of effort or dedication or any of that stuff, but we're just slow.
Do you know what it is? Obviously, if you did, you'd be working on it still, so.
Well, you know, that's what's hard about Daytona. You can go to Rockingham or Vegas or somewhere else, and the car drives a certain way, and the driver can tell you why you're not fast. But here, the driver has no input whatsoever. You don't know if the engine's not running or if there's too much drag, or you don't know. So Daytona, one of the hardest things about Daytona is why aren't you running, or even why are you running? It's really hard to know.
Ricky Craven 31st after his first lap, now on his second lap, and obviously looking to pick that up. I noticed a number of the Roush teams were working, changing engines yesterday.
Well, we had a few little problems that we didn't know if there were problems or not. So instead of waiting around and losing practice, we just decided to change them right then. There's a brand new engine that came down. We're sure there was nothing wrong, but we had a little bit of a hint that there may be a problem, so we pulled them out and put some different engines in.
So where do you want to be when you've completed your qualifying effort?
Where do I want to be?
Where are you going to be? Think about that. Let's bring Craven home to the checkered flag and see where he falls in for the qualifying order for next Sunday's Daytona 500. Ricky Craven drops all the way down and stays at 31st, actually. That's where he was after his first lap. His second lap just a tick faster, 49.714. Where are you going to fall into this?
I don't know where we're going to fall. You know, Mark picked up a lot of speed. Kurt Busch didn't, so I don't really know where we're going to end up. Biffle had a nice lap. You know, the thing is that the Fords are slow, okay, and we're slow compared to the other Fords, so that puts us behind a lot of people. What we've got to do is we know we're not fast, so we just got to get rid of that and get it out of our heads. But we've got to go and get these things where they can race well, and if they race well, then we can get some business done. But we aren't going to be able to beat people just on pure speed because we're too slow.
Last year, you moved to the forefront of the safety movement in the Winston Cup garage 1 year following the death of Dale Earnhardt. Are these race cars safer today, Jeff, than they were a year ago?
I certainly think they're safer. You know, and the main thing that we've done is we have made a commitment, you know, from a lot of different people. NASCAR has taken the head of it, but there's a commitment to continuing to make the cars safer. You know, the thing about safety is different than most things. You know, most companies and most organizations set a goal to go sell the most product, whatever that happens to be. And when they do that, hooray. You can't ever do that in safety because it can never stop. It's an ongoing process. So we'll never be able to say that we're as safe as we need to be because it can always be better. But the key is having effort and dedication and desire to make it better. And if you do that, and no matter what you're doing, then you can go make some great things happen. And I think that's where we are right now.
Robert Presley has just taken the green, the first of his 2 qualifying laps. This a one-off race for Melling Motorsports, hoping to get into the Daytona 500. And remember, this is the team that put the car on the front row 1 year ago. The seats have been a primary focus of safety, especially at a track like Daytona and Talladega.
Well, and the reason why is because we can affect immediately the cockpit in which the driver sits in. Better walls and crushable cars and all those kind of things, they're long-term processes. You can't do those quickly. You can't do seats quickly either, but you can make make short gains quicker. So that's why the emphasis has been put on that, because that's the immediate place we could go get help. And there's a tremendous improvements from where we were 3 years ago. I can't say we have tremendous improvements from where we were last year. My seat isn't a whole lot better than what we raced at Daytona last year, but we had a really good product then. But a lot of people now are using seats that are better, and that's the key, is make something available not only to Winston Cup drivers, but to every driver across the country, no matter what it is that he's doing. And also the focus on safety not only needs to be in race cars, but it needs to be in street cars and everything else. And this is just a continuation of what Ford and all the other manufacturers have done in trying to make street cars safe.
Hang on a second. We got a good run going here for Presley. Check this out.
He's going to be third, maybe second. Looks like he's going to be third.
Wow.
Fourth.
That's an awesome lap. It really is.
48.577 seconds, 185.27 miles per hour for Robert Presley. Yes, go ahead, Jeff.
Well, you know he's got to feel good. You know,
yeah, that whole team does.
Oh, God, after, he doesn't have a full-time ride right now for the season and come to Daytona 500. He's going to be in the Daytona 500, no doubt about that. And, you know, he feels really good about that lap. And that team, I'm sure they don't have all the people there because they don't have sponsorship to come in with a limited budget and a limited number of people. That's a heck of an effort.
Okay, well, I know you're going to give us a great effort.
Did you have a good winter, man?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, I'm a little worried about you. I brought you something to drink.
You did? Would you?
Well, you up here. It's hot out here, and
that's awfully thoughtful.
I know your throat gets a little dry.
I appreciate that.
How did spring training go? Did you get trained up, ready to go?
Everything went great. I'm real looking forward to a big year.
Hey, guys.
What?
Can we have this thing and talk about racing? I tell you what, the
nothing
seat
going on right now, Benny.
Hey, all right, the seat you were talking about. How much money have you spent in the last 2 years on that seat?
Oh, I don't know. I quit counting. A considerable amount. We've, you know, Roush Racing and myself, we've committed funds to it. We've probably spent, I don't know. I can't count the man hours. I know checks have been written for, you know, probably 100 grand or so, something like that. But there's a lot of man hours that have gone into it that we don't count. You know, it's kind of like we act like we didn't work on that, and we don't always tell Jack when we're working on it. So there's a tremendous amount of man hours that have gone into it. It's been a lot of effort, a lot of money. It's been a lot.
And there's been a lot of work done with sled testing and what have you, just finding out where the seat needs to be strong, where it needs to be weak.
Yeah, you know, the thing that the composite seat has taught us and the effort of building a better seat is where they need to be stronger and where they need not to be stronger and those kind of things. And we've been able to apply so much from doing sled tests and looking at seat belts and looking at all kinds of things. It's not just us. It's a lot of people in what I consider to be the community of NASCAR racing that are out working on this thing. You know, somehow or another I got the banner of being the safety guy. I don't always want that, but I'm a little part of what it is that's going on. There's NASCAR's taking a great charge at it. Roush Racing, Hendrick Motorsports, Butler, and I mean, there's a lot of people that have done a nice job. You know, manufacturers, Ford, General Motors, they've all pitched in to make it better.
Okay, Brett Bodine on the track, 32nd after his first lap, making his second lap. We appreciate you coming by. Thanks for the soft drink. Next time it's really bright out here, you could bring me some
it's hot out here.
You could bring me some sunglasses.
Hey, Jeff.
Time, okay?
Yeah, man.
Jeff, can you bring us some Cokes, please?
Hey, I'll send them right up.
Thank you.
You want some something else with it? Like some ice cream?
Coke's great.
Okay.
Let's check in with Marty.
Well, Bill, let's show the composite seat right now that Jeff Burton was talking about. There are only two in the field for the Daytona 500, one with Ricky Craven, one with Kyle Petty. And it is basically a carbon fiber shell, and then they pour this bead insert that they mold around the driver's body. The purpose of the carbon fiber seat is basically to act like another safety harness, if you will. Right here, it keeps the driver from moving side to side in case of an impact. It holds the driver inside the seat, and that really works well in that situation. Now, Jeff does not run the carbon fiber seat because he thinks it's about a year or so away. It's almost too good. It takes some of the feel away from the driver inside the race car. Jeff Burton runs a modified aluminum seat based off this carbon fiber seat, but there are two in the field for the Daytona 500, one with Ricky Craven and one with Kyle Petty.
How'd he do?
Let me talk. How did he do?
Yeah.
Well, he did great. I'm a little surprised he did that well. You know, Kyle was a little hard on him a little while ago. I told him he was smarter.
Hey, that's enough out of you, Burton. Okay, Burton.
Than he was to ask him that
Jeff
question,
Mike.
but I'm not sure he is smarter than that. I don't know.
Jeff, while you're up there, let me talk about the seat a little bit more. Basically, what they're trying to do, like with the seat that we just saw, is they're making the carbon fiber part big and putting a lot of that foam in, so the foam absorbs the energy, not the seat. So the seat doesn't bend and move
you're wanting the foam to absorb the energy. Is that right?
That's exactly right. That composite seat, it doesn't move at all. And in some areas, you don't want it to move at all. In other areas, you do need it to. And the foam, you're exactly right, is there to absorb the energy. And you can use different types of foam throughout the seat. And in the head area, your head wants totally different support than, say, your legs do. So being able to use different foams, different thicknesses of foams, different densities of foam gives you the ability to change how you absorb that energy. But the key to that is making the seat stiff so that you can, then the foam is what absorbs the energy, or the seat not quite as stiff as the composite seat, but not as soft as what we had, so the seat is part of the absorption system as well. But you can't have it bending too much, because then the driver loses support. And that's what we've had in the past, was the headrest and the shoulder and the rib areas, they would just fly out of the way. And now we've all gone to stiffer, stronger stuff that has more, that can take more of a hit and more of an energy and direct your head in the direction it needs to go, and spread it out better. You know, that's what we're trying to do, is spread the energy out.
All this stuff sounds like a guy who's been hanging around Duke University a lot.
Yeah.
Hey, Burton,
they let me come watch ball games. They don't let me go to school there.
All right, we appreciate it, Jeff. Right, get ready to run. Brett Bodine, that run a minute ago, that was big. Here's a guy with no sponsorship. He knows he's going to race here and at Rockingham, and he just qualified 16th fastest. He's going to be in the Daytona 500.
And those guys were changing motors this morning. They had, you know, they didn't feel like they had what it took to get in the race. And Brett was pretty concerned this morning about it, because they didn't know, you know, they said, man, if we don't make this race, we're not going to go to Rockingham. So they were putting in a motor, another Yates motor in that car, and it obviously paid off, BP.
Yes, it did. 49.078.
It'll be, you watch, there's going to be a big smile coming up from him here in just a minute when he figures out where he's at. Still to come, Nemechek, Gordon, and Burton. Club, a pair.
She has completed her first lap. She was 34th best. And we can see that she's going to be much better on the second lap. She might end up being somewhere around 20th. When it's all over and said and done.
Shauna with no points to fall back on from last year. It's this time trial speed and her finish in Thursday's qualifying races that will determine whether or not she's in the 500 a week from tomorrow.
Tell you what, that's not bad. 21st best.
Not bad.
Her speed, 49.271. Average speed, 182.66 miles per hour. So Eddie Jones, Eddie Sharp, all those guys, job well done. Marty Snyder, who you got?
Well, Benny, you hear about all these highly financed teams. This is the other side. Robert Presley, you didn't know whether you were going to make the Daytona 500 or not. Basically a one-off shot, and you pull off this lap, you're fourth, and you're disappointed. What's up with that?
Well, these guys has worked real hard, Mellon Racing, BrandSource.com, and, you know, we was wanting a front row starting position here for the 500, but, you know, we're just happy that this opportunity come about, and I'm able to race in Daytona 500 and a couple more races with Dodge this year, so it's going to be a great year.
Solid effort for Robert and those guys. Now, Brett Bodine, you didn't know whether you were going to be in this race. You didn't know whether you're going to be able to go to Rockingham or not, and you pulled off a solid lap. Looks like you're going to be in the field.
Well, it looks really good right now, and real happy for the guys. And, you know, my hat's off to Robert and Doug Yates. Obviously, we've got a pretty good piece when you're less than a tenth away from the best Ford, and that's one of theirs. Good effort for us, but as you said, we're looking for that major sponsorship, and, you know, we're hoping for a good showing here in the Daytona 500 to attract somebody over to our race team for the rest of the year.
Asked him what the future is of the team. He said, we just don't know. Matt?
And Marty, back here in the garage area, the Ford car belonging to Mike Skinner was pushed back to the inspection area because apparently NASCAR inspector Buster Otten told me the spoiler came loose. They brought it back and went back through the inspection process with the spoiler. They took it off, put it back on, and it now does indeed pass. So they are pushing the car back out onto the grid for Mike Skinner to prepare to make his qualifying attempt for the 500, Bill.
Okay, Matt, thank you very much. Down here on the wagon in Victory Lane with my very good friend Robbie Gordon. Haven't seen much of you since New Hampshire. Congratulations on that win, man.
Well, thank you, Bill. It's been a great winter. You know, the team with RCR has been doing a really good job. Obviously, with Kevin Harvick's run, second quick right now, and Jeff Green, where's he at? He's sixth quick. you know, I'm pretty excited, looking forward to qualifying today.
Yeah, because why? You were right up there with those guys on the practice sheet.
Yeah, you know, Kevin was a little quicker than us. Jeff was a little slower than us. So, you know, they picked up quite a bit in qualifying. I think that Gil Martin and all the guys working on the singular cars done a really good job over the winter. And I think that we'll pick up, you know, hopefully as much as they did, but at least enough to get into the show.
Okay, now I've been reading the papers. I've been reading the stuff online. I've seen some interviews. People want to talk about the Gordon and Gordon thing from New Hampshire. Do you want to talk about that?
You know, it's kind of over. I mean, you know, I think after the race, obviously a couple other stations went back and showed some replays of Gordon taking wins like that. So, you know, I guess I've learned from the best.
Yeah. We talked about a month ago at your shop. Tremendous opportunity for you this year. Richard Childress Racing. It's the 7 cars on the track right now, making the first of his qualifying laps. This is a great opportunity for Casey Atwood, staying with Dodge in an association with Ray Evernham after moving out of the 19 car. But for you, Robbie, great support, great equipment, great opportunity in 2003.
Yeah, you know, I think with Singular aboard of Richard Childress Racing, you know, these guys know what it takes to win races, and I feel very fortunate to be a part of their organization. I think with Jeff Green and Kevin Harvick as teammates, I can learn a lot this year, learn a lot from Richard Childress as a team owner, what he does on a day-to-day basis to have such a competitive team.
First lap in the books for the 7 car of Casey Atwood, falling all the way down to the 35th starting spot, and obviously hoping for a better time on his second lap. How critical for you to come out of Daytona with a strong start?
Well, I think for us, you know, we fell back in points to 29th by the end of the year with the 31 car. You know, I got in the car, they were 30th in points, so we only moved up 1 position. You know, if we could come out of here with a top 15 and just start building that points momentum, it would be great. But, you know, I'm going to say, you know, 2002 for us is about winning races. We're going to do everything we can to win races. And, you know, if we're fortunate on Sunday that we win this one, then, you know, I know my team's worked real hard enough, or definitely hard enough, and are very well prepared.
Okay, best of luck to you.
Thank you.
Okay, Alan, bring home the 7 car.
Well, let's see what he does, Bill. Checkered flag for Casey Atwood. Looking to make his second start in the Daytona 500.
Hey, what, he picked up a great deal from practice. He's 20th best with a lap of 49.242 seconds. His average speed was 182.77. And this morning, or yesterday, his best speed was just over 180 miles per hour. So a lot of work, a lot of speed picked up with the 7 car.
37 down, 14 cars remaining to make their Bud Pole qualifying runs for the Daytona 500. Just joining us, 2 laps on the clock today for each driver individually on the track, determining only the front row starters for the event. The rest of the times are going to be used as fallbacks in case they have a problem in Thursday's qualifying races. Jimmy Spencer will be next out onto the track. Still to come, pole favorite Ward Burton, who is yet to make his timed laps. Back in Daytona, Bud Pole qualifying is ongoing. That's Jimmy Spencer on the track. Weber called up here during a commercial and said something was going on down in Victory Lane. I know a lot of things happen in the middle of a race weekend, but what is this all about, Weber?
Well, Alan, I have to keep my voice down, even though racetracks are normally loud, but we actually have a wedding going on here behind the wagon in Victory Lane. So while the target car is on the track, here are 2 young people that are on target with their relationship, teammates for life at a track where teammates are very important. So our congratulations to them as they tie the knot here on February 9th in Victory Lane at the Daytona International Speedway.
While qualifying is going on.
It's amazing, isn't it, people?
That's my kind of tux, though.
Yeah. Oh, Spencer.
Not too good.
Wow, 36th best on that first lap.
He was 14th in practice.
The last practice, you're right, was 14th best. And he is really, really slowing down.
Yeah, you're right, BP. That number is going up quick. 3/4 of a second already. It'll be over a second by the time he gets to start-finish line.
And that's his deficit to Jimmy Johnson, still sitting on top of the stack in Bud Pole qualifying. Johnson was the 4th driver to make a time trial lap today. And he's still the fastest.
And Jimmy Spencer ends up being 35th best. And folks, this 41 car in owner point standings finished 38th last year. So he's going to have to race his way in the 125s on Thursday.
unless they choose to go again on qualifying Monday to try to improve that time, right?
Exactly. All right, let's see. Burns has been at the dog track in the bobsled. Where are you now, Dave?
Oh, Alan, I made it to the beach a little early. Just enjoying the water here on Daytona Beach's lovely lofty shore. No, actually, I'm in the middle of the track. There's a lake out here. Any race fan that has watched the Daytona 500 knows there's a lake out in the middle of the Daytona International Speedway. But why? Well, because they needed to build the banking for turns 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And I'm going to turn around here and reveal the fact that I'm pretty well caught up in this little dinghy out here. Anyway, on turns, they were going to build 2 lakes, actually. They were going to make 2 lakes, and they ended up making 1 because Bill France said 2 is too much. They dug out all the dirt from here to make 31-degree banking here at the Daytona International Speedway, and they named it Lake Lloyd after J. Saxton Lloyd, who was the civic leader who was in charge of bringing this 2.5-mile speedway to the Daytona Beach area for this kind of stock car racing that we love so much. So that is why there's a lake in the middle of the Daytona International Speedway.
Dave, you know what you find in lakes, freshwater lakes a lot in Florida?
Alan, yeah, you lived down here for a while. What do you find?
There used to be a cartoon named Wally Gator.
Not Wally Dallenbeck.
Wally Gator.
Wally Gator.
Don't look behind you.
Actually, yeah, it's pretty clear out here. Wouldn't want to drink it, but I have a feeling it would be quite adequate for aquatic and amphibious life.
Dip your hands in the water. Tell us how the temperature is.
It's not bad, actually. It's pretty good. And I hear it's great for bass fishing as well, which you see the guys doing out here every once in a while.
I didn't think he'd dip his hands in the water after the Gator reference, but I guess Dave is fearless. Puppies, fish, statues, we've seen it all today from Burns. We'll see more Bud Pole qualifying with Matt Kenseth on track after this.
NBC's coverage of Bud Pole qualifying for the Daytona 500 is brought to you by Budweiser. With the crisp, clean, refreshing taste you'll find in no other beer, this Bud's for you. By Sprint PCS, the clear alternative to cellular. And by Wendy's Classic Hamburgers. It's hamburger bliss.
Beautiful day on Florida's East Coast for Bud Pole qualifying, 75 degrees, as Matt Kenseth takes his 2-lap crack at the Daytona International Speedway.
Not too good.
And the Roush Racing cars that have struggled here so far this week at Daytona. I guess the good thing about it, the way that the cars are here at Daytona, if you're struggling by yourself for qualifying, is the fact that that great equalizer, the draft, comes into play for the rest of the week, as long as you're in the race.
Right. Right.
You know.
And these guys all have good enough points. I don't think that's going to be a problem, but you're right. I mean, you just kind of say, okay, let's get this thing, let's get it over with, like Jeff was saying, and hopefully we've got a car that drives good in a race.
And you see Kenseth finished up in 37th, best lap, 50 flat, almost 50.009, 179.97 miles per hour. Yes, but you know, you have the draft, but you can only keep up. When you have a car that's this slow, you've got to find some more speed because you want to try to pass somebody.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, you can be a little bit slower. I mean, you can be even half, 3/4 second, but when you're over a second and a half, it's not gonna get it done.
I mean, back in the 60s, cars could pick up 6, 7, 8 miles per hour. But those cars were boxes, and they knocked such a huge hole in the air. These cars are very aerodynamic, and you just can't pass unless you can run a pretty competitive speed with the car in front of you.
Jimmy Spencer has just come off the track, and he's with Marty.
And Jimmy Spencer talking to some other media right now, and we will wrangle him away. I asked him about his qualifying lap. I said, what happened? He said, nothing happened, because yesterday that good time you saw, Benny, on the speed chart was because we got a little drafting help.
Yeah, we really did. You know, I was wishing we could get some drafting up out there today, but when we unloaded with this car, we never ran faster than about a 45 or a 50, and we did a lot of things to it this morning to try to get it better. We definitely hurt it a little bit, but you know, I love this racetrack, and I love Thursday's races. I can't be as aggressive as I want to be. Thursday's going to be awful exciting, and we're in for a long weekend if we don't make it on Thursday. So hopefully we get the Team Tiger car a little bit better. Hopefully it drafts a lot better than it qualified. Time will tell.
So I got to wonder, A, are you worried about Thursday? And B, is it going to race better than it qualified? I sure hope so.
Man, that's a dumb question.
That is another dumb question.
That's another dumb question. I sure hope it's going to qualify.
Thank you, Jimmy, because I was going to say.
I'm very nervous. I really am really nervous. You know, anything can happen in this Twins. Thursday's races, if somebody has a tire cut down yourself, if you have an engine failure, you need a lot of luck Thursday. I'm hoping the Target team has a lot of luck. I hope the good Lord blesses us with a solid top 15 run. That's where we want to be. If you're not in Thursday's race and you don't finish there, you're going home. And I can't afford to do that with Team Target. And I'm going to concentrate and do everything I can in my power. I love this place. I love it a lot. And I'll be there.
It's been good to you before. All right, let the ribbing begin, guys. Go ahead.
Goodness, everybody get more. Gee, how are you going to feel if you don't make the race? Yeah. Well, I'm going to be partying. But of course, now everybody's been sitting back in their transporters and their motor coaches watching our qualifying coverage and saw Marty's little exchange with Kyle. Now they're all in on the deal, too. It's terrific. And it should be. I love it. Yeah. This is Mike Skinner.
And that first lap was not too good.
Even if he picks up 3/4 of a second, he's only going to pick up 2 spots.
39th best. And that's another car. Mike Skinner. He finished 37th in points, owner points, last year, the Morgan McClure team.
And believe me, you are sweating it out. When you don't have a good run and you're not up there in points, there is so much pressure to get in those top 14 or 15 spots in the 125 qualifying race. You know, you talked about, Benny, at the very top of our show, what's in it for the pole sitter today, and you talked about bragging about it for the next 8 days here at Daytona. Guy that doesn't have a good run today and is in a bad spot in points like Skinner, you're talking about nothing but misery, stomach cramps for the next 5 days. And that's about where he picked up 2 spots. So the trouble's there. Sweat. Yep. 37th in points, 37th on time right now for Mike Skinner. A lot of anxiety over the next few days.
I know what they're going through. I spent 10 of the worst days of my life in Daytona trying to get a car up to speed and just could not get it to run. Nothing would make it run.
Look at this smoke coming off the left front tire there.
It's rubbing the fender?
If it's rubbing the fender now, you know it was rubbing the fender on a lap. And so Skinner is now the 40th driver to make a Bud Pole run. 41st attemptee will be Joe Nemechek. One of 2 cars sponsored by Kmart. Travis Carter, Carter Haas Racing, involved in or own both of them. They're both sponsored by the same people. And of course, you know, the news headlines that Kmart's filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy recently. There is great question as to whether these teams will be with us beyond the first couple of races this season. There's a couple more guys that are sweating.
Yes. Again, they are out trying to find some more money, talking about Carter Haas, but again, it's very difficult to find, we talked about it, very difficult to find a sponsor at this time of the year.
You're right, BP. Very difficult. These guys have their budgets set months and months and months ago for the year. So when they run into a problem like this, somebody's not, it's very unusual somebody step up with $10 million this time of the year and say, hey, let's go racing.
Yeah, you're talking to companies now about sponsoring cars in 2003, not 2002.
Exactly. Kmart says it will back the cars here at Daytona in the next race at Rockingham the end of February, and after that it wants out. A bankruptcy judge will make that decision. I'm told by a team spokesman earlier this morning that they expect to come down sometime in the next 7 days. You've been through this before, Wall. Well, I'll tell you, it is not fun. I came here to Daytona a week before the practice started thinking we were going to go racing, and got a phone call, said, no, we're not going. We're done. So, you know, what do? You can't look for a ride this time of the year because everybody's just in new programs.
But just think how much better off you are. You ended up with me.
Everything
and Juan.
And Alan. That's right.
And Bill. And Marty. And oh, Marty. You ended up with Marty.
Well, you were doing good till you got to Marty. First lap for Joe Nemechek. 37th fastest. This car is 17th in points last year, and Jimmy Spencer drove it.
But this is not going to be that bad a lap. This might be as good as, well, I start to say as good as any Ford, but he's starting to slow down a little bit now.
We'll still make it in the top 20 at least.
Lakeland, Florida's Joe Nemechek at his home track.
20th, pretty good, Wally. Good guess.
Not bad. Not bad.
Come on, Alan.
You know it's great. I'm not going there. 20th out of 41. Still to come, Ward Burton, Sterling Marlin, Bill Elliott, all possible contenders for the pole. Back to Daytona after we go to Salt Lake and Hannah Storm. Like a great day of coverage from Salt Lake City coming up here on NBC right after we are concluded with our Bud Pole qualifying for the Daytona 500. Alan Bestwick, Benny Parsons, Wally Dallenbach, Bill Weber, and our entire NASCAR on NBC crew trying to set the front row starting spots for the 44th running of the Great American Race. This is Lebanon, Pennsylvania's Bobby Gerhart on the track now.
Bobby, a very infrequent competitor in NASCAR Winston Cup racing. Raced the ARCA circuit for many, many years.
Has won the ARCA 200 here at Daytona. Did that a couple of years ago, 1999. Owner of Gerhardt's Truck World. Spends all of his time on the highway driving from Pennsylvania down to the Charlotte area where he goes to the auto auction to buy the vehicles for his dealership. Said he makes the trip once a week.
Buys trucks and takes them back to Pennsylvania.
Back to Pennsylvania to sell them. And then at night goes into the shop and works on his race cars.
With his volunteer help.
Yeah.
Probably only has 1 or 2 paid help.
Would be what you call a very full calendar. Why come and try to qualify for the Winston Cup race against such strong odds? I asked Bobby that question when he was down here January testing his car. He said, why not? I've won the ARCA race here. What more is there to accomplish there? Why not try and finish my dream of racing in the Daytona 500?
Well, and he's going to have to really pick up the speed if he's going to race in the Daytona 500. He was 40th fastest on the 42 cars that are qualifying.
This car they bought from Ken Schrader's team, the M&M's team, that they raced in super speedway competition, re-outfitted for Gerhart and company.
Yeah, when we talking about testing, all the teams, the big super teams, had 3 or 4 computers going off the same time, and lines going across the computer screen, and Gerhart said, I got a front end gauge.
Yeah.
That's about all the equipment he had.
It'd be great if he could make the race.
Sometimes you need all that stuff. So fast.
38th.
Over 180 miles per hour, 49.865 seconds, 180.49 miles per hour.
No points to fall back on for Bobby, not a full-time Winston Cup competitor, so he's going to have to race his way in Thursday's qualifying races if he's going to finish the dream. Bill Elliott will be the last driver to run. He won the pole for last year's Daytona 500. Will he do it again in 2002? Elliott Sadler is on track at Daytona International Speedway. The famed Wood Brothers car trying to qualify for the Daytona 500.
Just looking at the nose of this car, you know, you try to get the spoiler out of the air. But boy, BP, the nose of this car is coming off the racetrack on the straightaway a lot.
Yeah, see the front bumper, just how it lifts up when he gets on the straightaway. That means air is going under there and slowing the car down.
Elliott finished 3rd here in the Pepsi 400 last July. His qualifying effort today, 32nd. Should be okay to get into the 500. 22nd in points from last year.
Should be okay. I think anybody over 30th position in point standings from last year is going to be very, very concerned.
Let's take a look at how they stand. Jimmy Johnson, the 4th car onto the racetrack. The rookie driver is leading so far.
But just barely. Kevin Harvick, just a few thousandths of a second slower. You see Jeff Gordon, Presley. All this really matters not. Gordon, Presley, Walter will have to run the 125 and race their way for a starting position.
3 Chevrolets, then a Dodge, then 3 more Chevrolets before you get back to the first Pontiac and the first Ford in 8th and 9th. Dale Earnhardt Jr., 14th fastest. Brett Bodine and Dave Marcus, great runs. That should assure them of a spot in the Great American Race. See some of the drivers that have struggled. Thought Benson would end up better than that.
And there we see some guys that are really struggling, trying to find some speed.
Trying to find some sleep here in that split, too. Kenseth, Henry Sadler, Carl Long, slowest 3 so far. And again, the importance of today, only the top 2 are locked into the Daytona 500, but everybody else is looking for that 31st through 36th spot right there. If they don't race their way in through the qualifying races Thursday, they need that good time trial speed to fall back on. The last spot in the race from there went to the 16th fastest car a year ago.
In other words, if Jeff Gordon has a problem in the qualifying race on Thursday, right now he's 3rd best, but the best he could start would be 31st.
This is Bobby Hamilton. Andy Petrie Racing, Chevy. A little different look to this car this year.
Well, his teammate Mike Wallace is up in 7th spot, so we would expect Hamilton to be somewhere in the top 10.
Hamilton a winner at Talladega last spring. You see Andy Petrie Racing's efforts in the 4 restrictor plate races last year. A total of 8 possible finishes, 5 top 10s, and a win. Hamilton looking to start the Daytona 500 for a 12th time. He was 13th fastest in practice. He's 19th in last year's points.
We can see the first lap is over, and Hamilton is only 32nd best. But once again, if you've just joined us, these cars, the engines are restricted. They only develop about 425 horsepower, and it takes them about 5 miles to get up to top speed. So the second lap is always much faster than the first.
He should be in the top 10.
And he's maintaining a real good speed so far. Halfway down the back stretch, he's only a little over 2/10, now 3/10 slower than Jimmy Johnson's time.
Most people picking up a half of a second to 6/10 of a second on that second lap. And if he does that, that'll put him up around 7th or 8th spot. So let's see. As Bobby Hamilton takes the checkered flag at Daytona. Didn't quite pick up that much.
13th, almost a 49 flat, 49.011 seconds, 183.63 miles per hour.
We should normally be about done with qualifying by now, but Matt, we've got several cars still to go. What's slowing the process down there?
Well, Alan, one of the inspection processes that's the last thing that happens before the cars roll out onto the racetrack is Mystic Cup inspector Don Barry has a weighted device that he hangs in the back of the spoiler just to make sure that that spoiler is at 55 degrees, what they feel like it should be when the car is on the racetrack. That way maybe teams won't use very lightweight material that might bend under pressure. So Don hangs a weighted device on the back of the spoiler as the 22 car of Ward Burton rolls up. That way they can make sure that nothing has happened to the spoiler. And that's the last inspection process that takes place before the car rolls, but it is a lengthy process, and it is slowing things down here at the top of the grid. As you can see, Don is hanging the device on. Tommy Baldwin does have a wrench just in case he does need to adjust that spoiler, as Tommy does have to do a little bit of tweaking, it looks like there, on the brace to make sure it's at that 55 degrees. No cheating going on, but you know, devices, they're working on it there.
Normally they're putting degrees in, not taken out.
Gentleman on the right of the picture there, that's John Darby, the new NASCAR Winston Cup Series director. He is in charge of technical specifications and inspections for the cars. He's the new Gary Nelson, if you will. Top cop.
And Tommy gonna have to do a little more work there on that last brace there, Wally, like you mentioned.
Well, you're going to try to get away with as much as you can. So, I mean, just a half a degree. If you can get away with it, that's in your favor.
Well, it's got to be 55 degrees. The tool that Don is hanging on there, it's got to be 55 degrees. But Tommy doesn't want it to be 55.2. He wants it to be 55.1 or 55.0.
Yep. So while they get Ward Burton's car lined up and ready to go, here's Robbie Gordon on track now. Visited with Bill Weber on the wagon earlier. Very optimistic about his 2002 campaign. His teammate Kevin Harvick is on the outside of the front row. The other Richard Childress car with Jeff Green is 6th fastest. What's it going to be for this one?
Should be in the top 10 anyway.
Attitude-wise, the car looks good. Not moving around too much.
First lap, he goes down to 35th, but again, forget about that. All right, let's go to our NBC pace chase and see. Well, right now, he's about a 1/10 of a second slower than Harvick.
Pretty decent if he can maintain that. Robbie Gordon looking to make his 5th start in the Daytona 500. His very first Winston Cup race ever. It's the 1991 edition of this race.
I think he's going to end up being about 5th. I spotted for Robbie Gordon in 1991 in his first race.
Did you? Wasn't that driving for Junie Donlevy?
Sure did.
Yeah. Spotted for me in my first race. There you go. Which one of you said 5th? BP. There you go. Nice job, BP.
48, 817, 184.36 miles per hour.
And so Robbie Gordon has assured himself of a spot in the 44th running of the Daytona 500. Ward Burton's run coming up.
10, 9, 8.
You don't get any other feeling going in any other racetrack than you do at Daytona.
5, 4.
There's nothing quite like it as far as single race victories.
3, 2.
It's our Super Bowl event. I mean, this is the biggest event that we have all year long.
The 44th Daytona 500, 1 week from tomorrow, live on NBC Sports.
And folks, to stock car racers, this is a special, special place. You drive in through that tunnel and drive inside, and every time you do it, it hits you. This is Daytona.
I was just thinking a minute ago as we watched Jeff Burton complete the first of his 2 laps that this one car at a time stuff is a formality. This is the exercise we go through to help determine the field. But man, to see that field of 43 come to the green flag next Sunday, I cannot wait. It is exciting. Jeff Burton spent a bit of time with Weber on the wagon earlier, looking to make his 9th start in the Daytona 500. Winner here at Daytona in the July race a couple of years ago. Had top 10s in the 3 2001 restrictor plate races after the Daytona 500 last year. He finished 19th in the 500 a year ago.
I'll tell you what, that for those cars is a great lap.
He'll be happy with that.
He'll be tickled to death with that. 49.145, 183.13 miles per hour. Yes.
Teammate Mark Martin 29th, and all the other Roush cars farther down than that. So for Jeff Burton, 22nd, pretty good run. Robbie Gordon has just come off the track. Let's hear from Marty.
Well, the most recent winner in the NASCAR Winston Cup Series. That's a pretty good start to making it 2 in a row, Robbie.
Yeah, it is. You know, can't say enough about Richard Childress Racing. You know, look at all 3 cars right there in the game. You know, Gil Martin, Todd Berrier, Kevin Hamlin, all the guys, everybody from AOL, Singular, GM Goodwrench, everybody working together really well this year. I'm excited about this year. These guys, you know, they're pumped up after Loudon. They kept that momentum going. It showed here in qualifying. They really worked their tails off all winter long. And you know, a lot of guys think winter holidays, the time they're off. These guys are working, you know, 7 days a week, just getting after it. I want to thank them. I want to thank all their girlfriends and wives for putting up with it, because you know, it wouldn't be possible without these guys.
Family's very important, and if confidence means anything, these guys are off to a great start. Alan?
Congratulations, Marty. He got through that one.
He got through that one.
All right, here's the man. The man that Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Gordon, Rick Hendrick is so concerned about. Ward Burton.
It's been over 2.5 hours since Jimmy Johnson made his qualifying run. He's been on top of the board watching all these people take shots at him since then. And this may be the strongest challenge yet. Yes, it is. Ward Burton, 2nd fastest in winter testing, 4th fastest in practice, but a lot of folks said he only took 1 lap in that practice, and your 2nd lap is usually the quicker.
That's right. He ran a 48.88, and some guys are saying that was the 1st lap. So, how much could he pick up on that 2nd lap? Can he pick up enough? He's got to run 48.43. All right, this is the lap that counts. He's off and running.
and spun a good ways, didn't it? But he did run very high in 3 and 4, higher than most of the guys.
He's got to pick up 7/8 of a second. NBC pace chase. When the ball moves toward the red, that means he is running slower than Jimmy Johnson's time. If it should move toward the green, that would mean he's running a faster lap.
And it's going towards red. He's not going to make it. Doesn't look as though he's going to make it. He'll be easily in the top 10.
Which is important in case he has a problem in Thursday's qualifying race. But it does not look like Ward Burton will mount a challenge to Jimmy Johnson for the Bud pole today. Checkered flag is up.
There you go, Ward Burton. The cat car ends up in 5th spot, 48.800 seconds, 184.43 miles per hour. But we've still got Bill Elliott. Last year.
And Sterling Marlin and Jimmy Johnson's Hendrick Motorsports teammate, Terry Labonte, yet to go.
So, Jimmy, it's not over yet.
Think he's nervous?
He might be practicing his victory lane speech or his acceptance speech of the trophy.
Here comes Terry Labonte, Johnson's Hendrick Motorsports teammate, out onto the track to begin his warm-up lap while he comes around to the green. Where's Dave now?
Alan, I have finally made my way to the garage area where I want to talk about Kirk Shelmerdine. His team came together late with this ride for the Daytona 500, and they have not even gotten on the track for practice because they haven't made it through tech. This car was raced by the Wood brothers a while back, but the rules for NASCAR have changed since then. They knew about a lot of the changes before they came down here and made those changes, but when they tried to go through tech 2 different times, it just wouldn't conform to the rules around the body. So they're going to go back through later today, having made all these changes. Hopefully Kirk will be able to get in the car tomorrow, get some practice, and then go out for second round qualifying on Monday in order to have a starting spot in the 125s on Thursday. That's the Kirk Shelmerdine story. It's the same kind of thing we see all the time. Guys trying to get through tech in order just to get on the track.
Texas Terry Labonte, 2-time NASCAR Winston Cup champion, has never won the Daytona 500. He has finished second 3 times. He had a dreadful 2001. I mean, dreadful. But new crew chief, lots of new optimism coming into this season. And a good way to start it off today would be with a good qualifying run for the Daytona 500.
Go
ahead, Walt.
I was just going to say he's got Jim Long aboard, and boy, Jim is very capable at getting this car turned around. In fact, he was going to be my crew chief last year if we were going to go racing. I got to test with him down here a little bit. Very, very knowledgeable about these cars, real sharp.
When you have a year like Terry Labonte had in 2001, you got to change something. You know, the driver or the crew chief or the paint job or something, because you've got to have some kind of renewed enthusiasm for the next year. In this deal, they've changed the crew chief, and those guys seem to be pretty pumped up about what's going on.
Has the potential to be a top 10 lap here for Terry. He's 29th now on lap 1. If he picks up a half a second, that could put him in around 8th, 9th, somewhere right in there.
You know what? Those numbers are not spinning too fast. He's got a great lap going.
Yes, he does, especially with going down that backstretch. You're going right into that wind, and that really kills your speed, but he didn't lose that much time.
Building up somewhere around Ward Burton's time.
Looking for 5th. Sorry, Benny. Looking for his 24th start in the Daytona 500. How about it for Terry Labonte? Nicely done.
Goes to 7th spot. His second lap, 48.843, 184.26 miles per hour.
That'll get you over a winter off a bad season.
Yes, it will.
We thought Ward Burton would challenge Jimmy Johnson for the pole, Marty. Didn't work out that way.
Well, he was one of the bullets that was going to be shot at Jimmy Johnson, and I'm sure you're disappointed, Ward. Not the lap you were looking for.
No, it definitely wasn't, but still proud of the team. They worked real hard, and we have a great car for Thursday and Sunday.
All right, if he hangs in, that will be the 3rd straight top 10 start he's had in the Daytona 500. Of course, he'll have to race his way and get that starting position through the twin 125s on Thursday.
Just a couple of cars to go, and still that secondary inspection process going on, so we're still not ready to present Sterling Marlin and Bill Elliott's cars at the front of the line. Coming up next on NBC, the action gets underway at the Olympic Winter Games in Salt Lake City. We'll be going there live right at the conclusion of our Daytona qualifying. Just 2 more cars to go to determine who will hold the front row spots for the Great American Race. Jimmie Johnson, rookie driver, whose team is partly owned by Jeff Gordon, is the fastest so far, but a couple of very quick Dodges are sitting there in line. The silver car of Sterling Marlin, former Daytona 500 winner, and Bill Elliott in that red Dodge, also himself a former Daytona 500 winner.
Where's Jimmie Johnson off to now?
Someplace he can hide. Nervously wait out. Dave, where's he going?
Well, Alan, just in case he needs to stand by the Bud Pole Award board, he needs to get back into his driver's suit to look official. That's what he told me.
Ah, there you go. That's being optimistic, and rightly so. So Jimmie Johnson trying to do what only a couple of others have done before, being a rookie to win the Daytona 500 pole. I remember that Mike Skinner won the pole for the 500 in 1997, his rookie season. Loy Allen won the pole for the 500, his rookie season. Those couple I can recall anyway. And there's Bill Elliott.
See, you can't get in the car until after they check that spoiler. So after they get done checking it, then you're allowed to get in the car, and that's what takes a lot of time too.
1995 and 1996, Sterling Marlin won the 500 here. He has also won a Bud Pole for this race, 1992, driving for Junior Johnson back then. He was 11th fastest in practice. And he's trying to break up that Chevrolet stranglehold on the front row.
I think Sterling Marlin's first start in NASCAR Winston Cup racing was back in the mid-70s and has been racing ever since. And I asked him the other day what his biggest thrill in racing has been. And he said easily the Daytona 500 in 1994. It was his first NASCAR Winston Cup victory. It was the Daytona 500. He'd been coming here with his father, Cuckoo Marlin, for years and years and years. So very, very exciting time.
Last 4 restrictor plate races, the restricted packages they use at Daytona and Talladega, the circuit's 2 biggest tracks. Marlin has qualified no worse than 7th. One would expect this would be pretty good.
But his teammate Jimmy Spencer,
that's true,
was not good, and I don't understand why, but Jimmy Spencer's back in 42nd.
So the range that he needs to have a shot at the front row on this first lap is what? Somewhere around a 49 flat?
Yeah, if he's going to have any kind of shot, he needs to run at least that speed.
All right, here he comes. White flag is up. Let's find out. Not good.
No, he goes back to 49.78. And we can see Sterling is, this is going to be a much better lap. 25/4 of a second slower. Now he's down about 1/3 of a second slower than their pole sitter Jimmie Johnson. So Jimmy's dodged another bullet.
Marlin led the Dodge charge last season. That's Chad Knaus, Jimmie Johnson's crew chief, also looking to get his first Daytona 500 pole position as a crew chief.
Top 15. Nope.
Wow, back to 24th.
That's surprising. That is a surprising run for Marlin. The numbers on Sterling, 24th fastest out of the drivers that have gone. Again, the Winter Olympic Games coming up just moments here on NBC. 1 car to go in Daytona 500 Bud Pole qualifying, and at the run of Bill Elliott, the 2-time 500 champion.
You know, you think about that. Next Sunday in the Daytona 500, we'll try to figure out who's the top stock car driver of the 43 cars that start, top team and what have you. In the Winter Olympics, they got to figure out who's the best athlete in the world at skiing or skating or what. That's pretty impressive.
Next Sunday, as Bill Elliott comes out onto the track, the Great American Race, the Daytona 500.
9. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 2.5 miles to history. Jeff Gordon will win it. Wow. What a race.
Can't wait. Next Sunday at noon Eastern Time, live on NBC, the Daytona 500.
Either I'm so excited about, for the first time, being able to sit in this booth and talk about the Daytona 500. Stock car's greatest race.
Last chance for somebody to take the Daytona 500 pole position away from Jimmy Johnson. The veteran Bill Elliott will have the shot at it.
He's got to pick up about 3/4 of a second from his practice speed. You see Jimmy has changed clothes. He's in his uniform. He's watching.
Bill Elliott won the pole for the 500 1 year ago. He won the race itself in 1985 and 1987. Jimmy Johnson just got to be a bundle of nerves right now. Can you imagine in your first try winning the pole for the Daytona 500? No, cannot even imagine. Little 183-mile-an-hour cruise through an 18-degree banked corner for Bill Elliott. Nothing to it.
Don't think so. No, Jimmy Johnson on his first lap ran 48.97. Bill Elliott on his first lap ran 49.48. So, Jimmy, relax. You got it made.
And he knows that now. You have to pick up a second if nobody has.
How about this? If this holds up as we expect it will, both drivers who will start on the front row for the 500 are in their first attempt to make the race. Johnson and Kevin Harvick. And they're going to be on the front row.
That's right. Harvick didn't run the 500 last year.
That's right. Final corner of qualifying for Bill Elliott. Checkered flag is up. Watch the reaction of Jimmy Johnson to winning the Daytona 500 pole position. He's done it.
It's a pretty good lap for Elliott, Dave.
Very good lap. Ends up 9th spot. 48.867 seconds. 184.173 mile per hour. Dave Burns.
Well, Jimmy Johnson has climbed off the front of his hauler. You are the pole sitter. Congratulations.
I was trying to hide from you. You guys found me. No.
What were you doing up there?
Just watching. I wanted to watch. I couldn't stand being stuck in the truck waiting to see what was going to happen. But this is Hendrick Motorsports, man. Everybody's been working their butts off, from the engine shop, chassis, engineers. The team's been working awesome together, and I'm stoked. This is a heck of a way to start off the season, and I also got to thank Lowe's and all the employee owners out there. It's going to be a good time.
All right, and Jimmy Johnson will be just the 3rd rookie in history to start on the Daytona 500 pole.
All right, let's take a look at how they ran today here in Daytona. Remember, only the top 2 are locked in to next Sunday's Daytona 500 in their grid position. Jimmy Johnson and Kevin Harvick will lead the field of the green flag. Everyone else from Jeff Gordon on down will have to race their way in Thursday's 125-mile qualifying races.
In the first race, the odd number qualifiers will race. In the second race, the even number qualifiers will race.
Coming up next on NBC, we go to Salt Lake City for the 2002 Olympic Winter Games. We'll be back next Sunday at 12 noon Eastern, 9 Pacific, to bring you the 44th running of the Great American Race, flag-to-flag coverage of the Daytona 500, live on NBC. For Benny Parsons, Wally Dallenbach, Bill Weber, and our NASCAR on NBC crew, I'm Alan Bestwick, sending you off to Salt Lake City. Don't forget the Bud Shootout on TNT tomorrow.